Me 35 with my wife 29F of 5 years, wants a divorce after I requested a paternity test. I met my wife through a mutual friend. We were friends for a year or so before we both became single and decided we were compatible enough to date. We were together 2 years before we got married. I do not know what got into me. My wife is loyal, faithful, but I had been reading statistics about how many men are raising children that aren't their own, and had absolutely no idea around the time she found out she was pregnant. We both wanted children. We weren't actively preventing it. About 3 months in, I couldn't take it anymore and told her I wanted a paternity test. She asked me if I was accusing her of cheating. I said yes. She asked me why, and I couldn't answer her. Neither of us has ever cheated or been cheated on. She works very hard, long hours at her job, but has always let me know where she is, who she will be with. If she was going somewhere with friends, I was always welcomed. I do not know why I did this, and it's tearing me up. She told me she'd gladly give me my paternity test, but that she was moving back to her mother's until that time because she didn't know if she wanted to continue the marriage. She got an amniocentesis test at about 20 weeks. I'm the father, and when she told me, I was so happy. But she wasn't. She told me that she felt like she fell out of love with me the minute I asked her, and that she had no desire to reconcile. Our daughter was born July 10th. My wife has gone through a lawyer and has started through the motions of divorce and issues of custody. She has since gotten her own apartment. She said she wants to keep this as amicable as possible for the sake of our daughter. But I just want to be a family. She doesn't want support or alimony because she makes more than enough to cover herself and our daughter's needs and live a comfortable life. It's taken since February to even get her to soften her stance and even think about counseling. She said she loves me, but she isn't sure she can get over this. Now I'm trying to think of how to fix this, and I'm just such a broken mess. I want to prepare a list to talk about on Monday at counseling, but I just can't think of anything but apologizing, and that hasn't made a difference in the past months. I don't think it would now. Tell Dr. Didn't suspect wife of infidelity, but paranoia made me ask for a paternity test. After months of separation, she's agreed to counseling. What can I do to fix this? Relevant comments. Commenter. 1 WTF. No reason to think she cheated, not one iota. Did you think aliens impregnated her? I'd find it hard to overlook that too. Reply: we were sexually active, so I did know that there was a good likelihood I was the father. I just couldn't shake that little voice that told me I might not be. Commenter. 2 I know you say you don't know why you did this, but you really need to dig down deep and figure it out. Figure out why you would accuse her of something like that. I'm not asking for a logical reason. I'm asking for the thought process or the root of the feelings behind whatever spurred you to do it. Were you scared of being a dad? Were you scared of locking in on such a long-term commitment with someone? Were you spooked by an outside source? Were you angry about something? Did you feel pressured by the whole gender cuckolding thing? Even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's stupid and irrational, there's going to be a reason. What was going on in your head? Commenter. 3 I'm afraid I agree with her. To take something as precious as a first pregnancy and taint it with garbage from the internet. Well, I'd have trouble loving you too. The whole affair is pretty pathetic. Commenter. 4 You have single-handedly destroyed your marriage by not trusting her without a single reason to be suspicious. Good job. Commenter. 5 Wow, what a ass. She never cheated on you, and she had to prive her baby to you? I would divorce your ass. You lost her trust big time when you asked for the DNA update. 1. Me 35 with my wife 29F of 5 years. Wants a divorce after I requested a paternity test. I got to sit down with my wife during my visit with my daughter. While she was napping, she says that this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Here is why she went nuclear, as a lot of people said. As much as this hurt, I needed to hear it. I had trouble trusting her our whole relationship, despite the fact she had never cheated on me or any exes. She's caught me snooping through her phone work laptop before, and because she deals with privileged information, she says I open her up to liabilities with her clients. No, I have never found anything incriminating. She has never hidden anything except work-related things because of confidentiality. Her bank accounts, credit card information, phone records were always open to me because she's caught me snooping before, and she wanted to assuage my fears. I had recently installed Tinder on my phone, and she had caught me on OkCupid 6 months ago. Her best friend sent her my profile, so thinks that this is me projecting. She got upset about the hypocriticalness of it all, while she had to be fully open to me, but she says I never showed her the same courtesy and always bitched at her about my privacy. I had my phone passcode. I would get upset if she did the same. And I'd get angry with her if she went into my computer email for any reason, even if it was bill-related. She said what really made her not want to work on it was some of the following. She felt no support from me at all before the test. She would come over every other day and talk to me. But I was cold to her, and that she tried to work on it in the beginning. She said my aloofness made her not care. I refused to help her cover the copay for the amniocentesis. She said this was pettiness that made her feel this way. But she was going to get an amniocentesis test anyway because she's paranoid about birth defects, and her insurance didn't deem it medically necessary. I went on a few dates after she moved out, and she found out she considered it cheating because she had been attempting to work on our marriage at that point and had even made counseling appointments that I refused to attend until she got the paternity test. I didn't remember about this and didn't include it in my last post. She said she's willing to work on the marriage, but she said that it has to be as open both ways, and she isn't willing to move back in with me right away. I have to give her the passcode to my phone and delete Tinder. I do not want to give her the passcode to my phone because I think I deserve my privacy. Her other condition is personal therapy as well as the couple's counseling. I don't want to do this, either, because as many of you have pointed out that there's nothing wrong with wanting to be sure TLDR. I spoke with my wife. She is willing to work on the marriage, but with conditions. Relevant comments. Commenter, 1. I am shocked you posted an update. Your original post included nothing that would help us understand her decision. Frankly, you sound completely out of touch with reality. I can't imagine why she's willing to work on this marriage. Let her go, for her sake. Reply, your original post included nothing that would help us understand her decision. She hadn't told me she was keeping contact minimal, besides allowing me to see our daughter, but she wasn't opening up to me about how she felt. Commenter, 2. Wow. You go through her phone, emails, and accuse her of cheating, getting pregnant with another man. You refused to attend counseling until she got a paternity test that you also refused to pay for. You have dating profiles, refused to give her the passcode to your phone, and went out on dates with other women. You won't do any of the things she needs you to do to improve your marriage because you deserve your privacy. Congratulations! You are a frosted dog turd commenter. 3. You sound like a pretty horrible partner. You also leave out the fact that amniocentesis is a dangerous and unnecessary procedure. In other words, you were willing to put your future daughter at risk simply because you couldn't wait a few extra months to do a 100% safe paternity test after birth. Regardless of what happens with the marriage, you sound like you need a serious amount of therapy for your insecurities. Honestly, I wouldn't advise your wife to take you back unless you had major breakthroughs in said therapy. Commenter, 4. Your wife is better off without you. Cheat on her, accuse her of cheating on you, and refuse to do the smallest bit of work to repair things. Do you even want to be married to her? Do you even want this child? Final update. Me 35M with my wife 29F of 5 years, wants a divorce after I requested a paternity test. I realize now that I'm not exactly someone you want to sympathize with, and I'm sorry. I do love Marissa and want to be a better husband and father, but I will not get that chance. In therapy, our therapist had us lay everything out on the table, and I admitted that I was an unfair hypocrite. She admitted that she's happier without me, despite being a single mother for all intents and purposes. We attempted to talk it through, with her laying out her terms to re-enter the marriage. I feel I did not cheat on her because she left me with no discussion of terms. She feels I cheated because we were still married, and actively discussing her eventually rebuilding her trust in me and moving back home. We agreed to try another therapy session, but Tuesday morning she canceled it, and she filed for divorce. We had dinner. That night she told me she was sorry, but she didn't think it would work because her trust at this point was irrevocably broken. I told her it was okay. We sat down and talked about visitation until she leaves in January, when she will be moving to her home state with an opportunity that grants her more money and better benefits, including on-site daycare. She told me she harbors no hard feelings towards me, but she wishes it hadn't ended this way. I told her it didn't have to, but she disagreed and said it did. I told her I'd give her access to my phone and such, but the fact that I did that to her left a sour taste in her mouth about it. And she doesn't want a relationship where it's considered normal to not share, rifle through the other person's things for no reason, as she put it. We agreed on child support, and we will get it in writing. I make a comparable amount to what she will be making, so we agreed to split baby's expenses. Baby will be on her insurance. I gave her a check for the amount for the amino. Anything else we can think of? I know there's no chance of getting my wife back now, but how can I be a good dad to baby long distance? We talked about me eventually moving to be in proximity. She made sure to emphasize for baby that we will not be getting back together. But I'm locked into a contract until next December, at least LDR. Wife pulled the divorce trigger. How can I be a good dad to my child long distance? Relevant comments. Commenter, one eye, still I feel. I did not cheat on her. Dude, you were still married. Of course you cheated. She did not, but you acted like she did with wild accusations not based on any facts, and now you are blaming the divorce on her. Great job. You should make sure to move closer to the baby after your contract is over, and try to be the best dad as possible, especially since you are the one who fucked up your marriage beyond repair. Honestly, besides money, there is nothing you can do for the baby long distance. It's not like the baby can talk to you on the phone. Being the best dad possible means actually being there for your child. Commenter. 2. He's also completely glossing over the fact that he was actively on dating services like Tinder and OkCupid, while they were definitely still together. There's no, well, technically, we were separated, blah blah blah, rationalization for that though, so I understand why he's choosing to ignore that, since OP seems to be actually incapable of taking responsibility. Commenter 3. How can I be a good dad to baby long distance? Your ex-wife will date again. Start preparing for that, and don't become a jealous, controlling asshole when it happens. Commenter 4. But I will not get that chance. Dude, you lost me right there. Most people who aren't total narcissists would say something like, but I fucked things up too badly. I ruined the trust we had, or something that would indicate responsibility. You got her to do a risky paternity test instead of waiting until the birth, while at the same time whoring around on dating sites. Do you get how awful that was? How can I be a good dad to my child long distance? Please keep seeing a therapist, even without your ex. Stop making everything about, you want to be a better father to that child than you were a husband to your ex. Commenter. 5. Ha 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 ah. When she said, she wishes it hadn't ended that way, and you said, it didn't have to. Honestly, if I was that kid, I wouldn't want you in my life. You have no moral compass, no empathy, no common sense, and no sense of personal responsibility. This is coming from a child of a mother with similar qualities, and I genuinely believe that my life would have been better if she had never been in my life. Commenter 6. Wow. So if only your wife would have taken you back instead of initiating the divorce, everything would be great. The divorce is all her doing. Good going. You have clearly learned nothing from this experience and somehow managed to make yourself even less sympathetic. Commenter 7. Let's be straight. You're a cheater. You should seriously contemplate going to the therapist if you really don't think so. How a 35-year-old is this dumb is beyond me. Wah, but we were separated. Not according to the marriage certificate. You weren't moving on. Be there for the kid. When he is growing up and wants to talk to daddy, you make sure you'll be there for him. You may not be able to have a physical relation with him, but giving him the feeling of having his dad there will be almost as good. Commenter 8. After reading all 3 of your posts, I'm going to say a few things. First thing is, stop blaming your ex-wife for causing this bullshit. You projected like a crazy person that she was cheating on you, all the while dicking off on OkCupid and Tinder. You may have not stuck your dick in anything, but there was clearly a reason you were there. You expected her to give you her passwords, her phone code, her whereabouts, all while holding on to your privacy. And then you scoffed in her face when she made it a condition of getting back together. You, sir, are a controlling, self-absorbed douche canoe. Second, if you can pull your head out of your ass long enough to understand that your actions towards your ex-wife can cause her concern towards your relationship with your daughter, with your misogynistic views towards women, then understand that she will fight you tooth and nail to ensure you cannot influence your daughter with the same bullshit you've been spewing at her. Third, stay in counseling. You clearly need it, for your sake, and any hope of a solid relationship with your daughter and a civil relationship with your ex-wife, which you will need. Stories number 2. Aida for asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My sister had borrowed money from me almost a year ago for her husband's surgery and health care. They couldn't afford it. So when my sister asked me for financial help, I was hesitant. But I helped her because she's my sister, and helping her husband would mean helping her as well. I told her back then that I am hesitating, but I will help her. She said she'll return the money in 3 months, but she didn't. And I didn't ask her either, so now I brought it up again. I wasn't planning on asking to return the money, but her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My wife has small scars on her hand. It's not serious, just small scars she inflicted on herself when she was 15. I was with her back then and put a stop to it. We are 27 both, and my Bill made fun of my wife when he asked her if she's still childish and asked her to cover up her hands, because it's unpleasant for everyone. Both of our families were speechless, and my wife was as well. I said when we are young we do dumb shit and he's too drunk, so he should just shut up. He got a bit more aggressive and said that it's still unpleasant, and my wife should cover up. I retaliated in my anger and told him that my wife will start covering her scars when he gives me my money back. I get angry easily and I wanted to insult him. My wife was holding me to stop, but I told her to shut up. I ended up telling him that he's a poor man and weak, who couldn't even afford his own surgery, and had his wife beg for money to her brother. He got even more angry, and he said he will give me my money. I said, do it right now, but you can't because you can't even walk properly. Our families were interfering and my sister was crying. I shut my mouth because I didn't want my sister to cry. Since then my sister is asking me to apologize because I hurt his ego, and he's in foul mood and depressed. I told my sister that I will never apologize, and he needs to apologize to my wife. And I asked her that both of them owe me money, and I want it back as soon as possible. And I don't care if they are. Poor Aita has no consensus. Bot, OP received mixed reactions, but leaning toward ESH and YTA's relevant comments. Commenter 1. ESH and you guys should stop drinking since none of you can do it with dignity. Reply, and why exactly am I an asshole? Because I wanted to hit him exactly where it hurts for insulting my wife. That dude can't even walk properly and he's making fun of my wife about something she did in her teens? A grown man is so damn poor that he needs help from his wife's family? And he has the audacity to insult people who saved his life? Commenter 2. You escalated the situation repeatedly. Nobody says you need to back down, but you had already made your point, and yet you kept saying worse shit. Not to mention telling your wife to shut up, which is ironic given you were supposedly in this argument on her behalf for her sake in the first place. Giving big shut up, I'm speaking for you energy here. Reply, yes I did. I wanted to escalate and argue with him even more, and insult him as much as I could for insulting of my wife. If it wasn't for my sister and my wife and others' interference, I would have gone even further, but I respect my wife and my sister, so I just shut my mouth. I told my wife to shut up, yes, but I didn't disrespect her in front of everyone. I was quiet, and was fighting someone who disrespected her. My wife wanted to de-escalate, but I wanted to escalate, and I would have hit him. But that dude is poor and disabled, so not really worth it to fight such a weak man. I am not sure what my sister sees in him to go above and beyond for such a weak turd, who insults the people who saved his life. OP on being controlling and manipulative for telling his wife to shut up. Reply, you can call me controlling in this situation, yes, but you can't call me manipulative. I have never manipulated my wife nor my sister. I have always done everything I can for them, and if they ever need my help, I help them. My wife never needed my help, because I have been with her for years, but my sister did, so I helped her only to find out that her husband insulted my wife. Telling my wife to shut up is not disrespecting her. I was quiet when she was pulling me back, and TBH, she shouldn't be interfering when I am fighting someone and stooping lower than him. I did, and I will go even lower if someone insults my wife. I could go the lowest. You can imagine. OOP responds to a downvoted commenter regarding keeping his cool and not insulting people he is trying to protect. Reply, You are a child for saying, "Shut up, ho." Sure, I am a pause for telling my wife to shut up in anger and we aren't even bothered by it. I can tell her to shut up, and so can she. But mentioning the how part. Unnecessary, and if I ever called my wife, which I don't dare, she would leave me. Maybe you are accustomed to calling your wife or sister a hoe? Maybe they are, and you just enjoy it. I don't know, but mentioning hoe part is unnecessary and just shows how you were raised, possibly by a hoe. And that's how your dad addressed to your mom, I think? Update Aita for asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars. It's an update for those who don't want to read my previous post. My wife has some small self-harm scars from her childhood, and my bile insulted my wife and asked her to cover them up. And when I couldn't tolerate the disrespect, I asked him to give me the money I lent him for his surgery and health care after my Bill insulted my wife and asked her to cover her scars. I wanted him to pay me my money back as soon as possible. My Bill and my sister said they'll give me my money back in 3 months, and it's been a year and still they didn't. My wife told me today that my Bill called her and he apologized to her, so I shouldn't ask for money because they can't afford it. And I should forgive them. I told my wife that he's taking advantage of your kindness, and he apologized to you because he can't afford to pay, and he insulted you in front of everyone. And we deserve a public apology. And my wife said that she's forgiven him, and doesn't want the money back, and they need that money more than us. I told her to stay away from this and let me do my thing. I will ask them again and again until they pay, but my wife said she doesn't want to, and I shouldn't either. And I should be the bigger person, after Bill apologized, and she's forgiven him, actually. I don't care if I get my money back, I am just using it to get back at him. I want to humiliate him just like he humiliated my wife in front of our families, but my wife doesn't want that. So am I asshole if I ask for my money and go behind my wife's back? Is OOP in the US, and can take to small claim court reply. No commenter 1. Yeah, probably best to go with what your wife is asking for here. Reply, that's what I am thinking as well, and it's not. I have a choice, I think. I know she's too soft, but how could she forgive him so easily after she was humiliated in front of everyone? We should retaliate, or at least she should let me. And it's been a year, and if I get my money back, we could use it for trips. Or I could buy jewelries for her. Commenter 2. Your wife is the injured party of the words. Let her decide what happens. He should apologize in front of everyone, though since he insulted her in front of everyone, then tell him one more negative comment, and the money becomes payable immediately. Consequences if he does it again. Reply, my wife isn't the only one who's injured, I am as well, and he definitely should apologize in front of everyone, and maybe if he did, I would have forgiven him for insulting my wife. But it's my money and I think I have the right to ask for it, and I would have, if my wife didn't stop me, but she's all about family and helping family. Her kindness and love for family blinds her so much that she would even forgive someone who disrespected her in front of our families. Though our families didn't take my Bill's words as disrespect, because my Bill was drunk, and he's frustrated because he can't even walk properly. Commenter 3. I get where you're coming from, but your wife has said she wants you to stop, and she is likely embarrassed when you bring it up. Plus, every time you bring it up, you're also reminding everyone of your wife's self-harming scars, which likely makes her uncomfortable. So if you continue to push this issue, especially publicly, you'd be the in humiliating your wife reply. No, my wife is not embarrassed. She's had those scars when she was 15, and she's not uncomfortable, and our families know that my wife has small scars, and nobody really cares about it in our family. But my Bill, when he was drunk and is in depression, insulted my wife because of her scars. That dude has way deeper scars after his surgery. He's poor and he can't even walk properly, and he insults my wife for tiny scars from childhood? Stories number 3. I changed my fiancé's Tinder account. Well, it's exactly as it reads. I 30F was engaged to my fiancé 32M until I wasn't 40 days before the wedding. I found out he was cheating. I had a dress, we had flight's destination elopement. It was 40 days out, lol anyway. He had a Tinder account and was telling women we were polyandrous if it came up. Well, before I fully called off the engagement, I went on his phone and changed the Tinder account. I don't care if it's petty or evil. We had 2 kids, a home, A whole ass life. So I changed the account, replaced his photos with mine, deleted his bio, and even paid the $8 fee so he could see how many likes were coming in. When he seen it, he shit bricks. After maybe 6 hours, there were already thousands of likes. Men trying to match me. Shortly after I made him leave, I owned the home and canceled the entire wedding. Needless to say, I am doing much better these days. Some things to clarify: I am real. This is a real story. There's some angry ass people on here. It's ridiculous. I don't want to share gritty details because IDK who will see this. It's the internet. He is a good father. I don't want to take him for all he's worth. Our kids are #1 priority. End of story. We handled our split like adults. Our kids are young and doing incredible. Their life won't fall apart because mommy isn't married, LOL. Look up statistics on maternal depression and childhood outcomes and get back to me if you're so worried about it. This was over a year ago. I quite literally forgot I did this. After we split, me remembering I did this wasn't in the forefront of my mind. I was healing. My world was upside down. In addition, I have a career in social work, 2 kids, and am working toward another degree. I've scrolled on here for a while, and this account was originally made when I was posting to get advice for this whole situation. My posts were sad, and I deleted them because it made me feel gross to see them. Who cares? At the time I did this, I could very easily change things on his Tinder. I don't use dating apps anymore. IDK what they have changed since then. It was pretty surface-level things: photos, bio, and preferences, and didn't need any authorizations to change anything. People have kids and don't get married. You don't have to get married, LOL. Build a bridge and get over it. I'm 5'4", blonde, and have a regular build. I go to the gym often, so I am toned enough for being a mom of 2, and am pretty covered in tattoos. I have been seeing someone, and he is absolutely incredible. Please stop messaging me things like, "Want to fuck to get back at him?" Comments. Commenter 1. Hot damn, that's genius. I assumed you would change it to label him a cheater, but changing it to yourself and making him see how many people would gladly snatch you up was 1000x better. Commenter 2. Bravo to you for owning the home and not putting his name on it. You dodged a major bullet here and seem like a major catch. You'll be just fine. Reply. This was a bit ago. I was reminiscing on how far things have come for me, and remembered that I did this. It was too good not to share. And thank you, I've been doing much better these days. Commenter 3. I hope you took him for every penny in his name. Lassies, don't ever share or split real estate. So many ways and alternatives to live and be together. Besides that one option. Edit. Dying over all the triggered men revealing themselves. Aha. Hit a nerve there. Did I? Can't let a woman own her own real estate. It must be shared. Otherwise, women bad. The copes wouldn't be necessary if you don't feel personally addressed. Hit dogs howl. Reply. Luckily, I am very independent. I don't need his money, and he doesn't have much extra to offer. We copa rent the children well, and that is all that matters. Commenter 4. Now go to the child support office and take his pay stubs or last year's taxes and the birth certificates of your children and get his butt on child support and have it, so they take it straight from his paycheck. I think they call that income withholding or wage garnishment. Good luck. Stories number 4. Aita for calling my ex on being a bad father to our son when he said he did not understand our son's bad relationship with him, his wife, and their kids. 34F have a 14-year-old son with my ex. 34M. There has been a lot of difficulty in our relationship as parents, and I cannot call us co-parents. I have tried a few times, but my ex hates me, blames me for his bad choices, and holds it against me that I would not let his wife, aka the woman he left me for while I was pregnant, to our son's birth. Because I wouldn't allow his wife-girlfriend at the time to be in the delivery room with me, he refused to come. And he has spent 14 years blaming me for that. He has stated I took away his chance to be present for the birth of his first child. But not only that, he also accused me of keeping him away from our son for the first 5 months of his life, when he was the one who did not reply to any texts or attempts to set up time for him to meet and spend time with our son. His extended family all met our son before he did. Even a couple of his cousins who live in another state met our son before him. Eventually he filed for full custody and was awarded visitation instead. We were forced to take co-parenting classes together, and he tried to include his wife, who was his wife by this point. But the judge told him co-parenting would be between me and him, not me and his wife. The classes didn't help. Instead of taking anything said on board, he decided he would forever tell our son. He wasn't at his birth and didn't meet him until he was 5 months old. Of course he told our son I was the reason for all of this. My son was so confused for a while, but once my son knew the truth or a version of it, his relationship with his dad and his dad's wife suffered. The reason his relationship with her suffered is because she was right alongside my ex blaming me, and she had her own part to play in things. My son was told add to this my ex has repeatedly said around or to our son that he was lucky to be at the birth of the 4 children he had with his wife. How it made a big difference to the bond and relationship. How he felt like a real father when he finally saw his child being brought into the world. My ex thought it would make our son hate me. He thought our son would believe everything he and his wife told our son. But all it did was push our son away and strain all the relationships. My ex didn't want our son in therapy, but I petitioned the court for him to receive therapy. And I have petitioned for full custody before, even with the backing of my son's therapist. Custody remains 50-50. And my son needs to be 16 before he could influence custody. For more than 4 years now he has wanted to live with me full-time, but it's just not happening. Recently, my son was in the hospital for a small surgery. It was relatively minor, and he's doing great since. But X didn't show up until after our son was taken to the operating room, and he didn't show up to see our son but to whine to me about our son not liking him or his family. He told me I need to fix whatever I did, because I have cost him enough of a relationship with our son. He said he couldn't understand our son's bad relationship with him and his family. That he was so sure our son would love the other kids and his wife because they're a family. I told him to look in the mirror instead of pointing fingers at me, that he's been an awful father to our son. And if he took any time to reflect on his choices regarding him, then he would see it. My ex left the hospital after again blaming me for everything around the birth and the first 5 months. He said if I hadn't been spiteful and just let his woman, what he called her, be there, then none of this would have happened. He accused me of being vindictive in keeping them from the birth of their firstborn. He has sent around a dozen messages through the co-parenting app, blaming me for everything and saying I'm still vindictive and petty. My attorney has made a note of everything, and at this time I don't plan to go for custody again unless something bigger changes. Because I'll be throwing money away. None of this is hugely different to any other time I tried, so I feel very stuck. And the reason I'm posting here is I worry this will make things worse for my son because I pissed his father, and probably his wife, off more than they already were. Comments. Commenter. Aita, obviously, narcissists will never acknowledge they're the problem. It must be everyone else. Just respond to everything with, "This is the consequences of your actions." Or just blatantly ignore him. Don't interact other than for logistics regarding your son. If he's doing it in person, just walk off, start laughing, or, yeah, be dismissive, reply. Typically I would ignore him and just keep it as civil as it can be. That's going to be my preferred way to handle it going forward too, because I don't want to make things any worse for my son. Commenter 2. Your ex isn't mad about the birth, he's mad that years later his own choices are the reason your son keeps pulling away. Reply. This is true, although I think he's also pissed at me for not letting him bring the woman he left me for to our son's birth. But it's all his own choices that led him to miss it, and the first 5 months, and I 100% stand by that, even though he denies being responsible for any of it. Commenter 3. NTA. I hate it so much when parents act like this to their kids, then wonder why the kids hate them. Reply. Me too. What's even worse is our son didn't need to know any of it. Eventually, I'm sure he would have wondered why there were no early baby photos with him and his dad. But his littlest version didn't need to hear his dad say over and over that he wasn't there and didn't even meet him for months. The stuff he says about being a real dad because of the other kids only worsens it. Commenter 4. My ex left the hospital after again blaming me for everything around the birth and the first 5 months. He said if I hadn't been spiteful, and just let his woman, what he called her, be there, then none of this would have happened. He accused me of being vindictive in keeping them from the birth of their firstborn, NTA. This man sounds utterly exhausting. He has absolutely no concept of taking accountability for his own actions, ETA. He's more focused on blaming you for everything while not being there emotionally for your son. Reply. He's more exhausting than anyone I have ever met. Taking care of a newborn on my own was less exhausting. Stories number 5. AIO for wanting my boyfriend to back out of a destination wedding he's the best man for because I was uninvited from the wedding. My boyfriend, 35M, is the best man for his best friend's wedding in a few months. I, 31F, was originally invited to this wedding as his +1 as well. The wedding is a destination wedding at an extremely expensive resort. All flights and hotels for both of us have been booked and paid for already. I have met the bride and groom to be a handful of times, have always been friendly with them, and was invited to attend their joint bachelor trip as my boyfriend's +1. I attended the weekend trip, and had a great time getting to know everyone that will be at the wedding, and was really looking forward to seeing everyone again at the wedding. I never felt any sort of animosity, and came out of the weekend thinking everyone had a great time partying with each other. Turns out the bride felt some type of way about me and has uninvited me from the wedding. I have not had any conversations with the bride or groom, but my boyfriend received the news from the groom. From what I heard of the conversation, it seems like the groom doesn't agree with this fiancé, and was really uncomfortable to deliver the message, but his hands were tied. My boyfriend has received details on what happened to make the bride feel that way towards me, and we both agree that it's a ridiculous overreaction and a huge misunderstanding. Long story short, the bride felt as if I didn't make an effort to make her feel special, and was trying to take her spotlight. My boyfriend contacted the other friends who were there that weekend as well, and everyone is in agreement that this is an overreaction and misunderstanding. The thing that bothers me the most is that everything that was listed out that I was doing to make her feel that way, everybody else was doing it as well, but yet it seems like there was a magnifying glass on me and she has a vendetta against me for some reason. My boyfriend thinks it was a series of unfortunate events that started at a house party a few months ago when I beat her in Mario Kart, and everyone was cheering for me. I know. So ridiculous. I voiced to my boyfriend that I'm more than willing to have a conversation with the bride to clear the misunderstanding to try and get her to change her mind. But at the same time, I'm not really sure I want to go to this wedding anymore anyways, as I would hate to be somewhere I'm not wanted. My reasoning for going would more so to be there to support my boyfriend and enjoy the vacation with him. That being said, I shared with my boyfriend that if the decision stays and I am uninvited, I would be upset if he still decided to go without me. I may feel differently if 1. It wasn't an expensive destination wedding that takes away valuable vacation days. He doesn't have a lot of, or 2. We were in agreement that my actions justified this decision in any way. For me, him attending without me feels like he's agreeing with the decision, and is choosing to stick by his friend over sticking up for me. AIO for wanting my boyfriend to back out. Edit. Wow, this got way more traction than I ever imagined it would. Thank you all for taking the time to share your thoughts and insights. It's been really helpful for me to read through and help process my emotions. This was all super fresh news when I wrote this out this morning, and I've had some time to process. I think my next step will be to reach out to the bride to have a talk with her and see exactly from her perspective what went wrong that led her to ultimately make the decision to uninvite me. It's been a game of telephone so far, so it would be helpful to hear it from the source. I plan on apologizing to her during this conversation because even though it may seem like an overreaction and misunderstanding to me and others, what she felt was obviously real, and real enough for her to make this decision. My hope from this conversation is that we can at least be cordial moving forward and be friendly for the sake of our men, even if we won't ever be true friends. We'll post another update once we've had the talk. Thanks again. Reddit. Edit 2. I've had another night to think about the situation. Reading through this thread, and it is really split 50-50. Seeing the different angles of everyone's insight has been super helpful. I am going to talk to my boyfriend tonight and mention that while my feelings of being upset are valid, it's not on me to dictate whether he should go to the wedding or not. I am understanding of the situation and realize that he should be there to support his best friend through this important life moment. He has made it very clear to me as well that he would be attending to support his friend specifically. I do agree with most of the comments here telling me that I should just go on the vacation with my boyfriend and have him minimize his time with wedding duties to the necessities only. I will bring this option up with him, and hopefully we're able to come to an agreeable compromise that leaves us both feeling heard and understood. Comments. Commenter 1. People don't usually invite guests and give them a +1 only then to basically interview, evaluate, judge whether the +1 is worthy of attending, pass judgment and rescind the +1, but allow the original guest to attend. That's terrible wedding etiquette. And if they plan on continuing the friendship with your boyfriend, the best man, how do they think that's going to go? No double dates, trips or events with all 4 of you together. You will not be deemed worthy to attend anything in the presence of Her Majesty? And what if you and your boyfriend eventually marry? Your boyfriend may want current groom to be best man. And will she expect to be invited? Lol. These people are shallow and don't realize there's life after the wedding. It's literally the smallest of events in a marriage. They are not seeing the big picture. It's extraordinarily rude to rescind an invite in this way, and I would assume you and your boyfriend will have to deal with the emotional fallout if he chooses to attend. Maybe your relationship won't last much longer afterward, but maybe that's what the bride wants. She's playing anti-Cupid. We all agree that she's being really immature about this whole thing and have not taken into the considerations of all of the consequences that will come from this reply. I would have at least appreciated if she spoke to me about her feelings first before coming to such an explosive decision. Commenter 2. Tell us what you did or what she thinks you did so we can make a better call. Reply. The girls, 10 of us, went out to a dinner together and were seated at a long table. I was having a conversation with the girls. On my side of the table I was in the corner, and the bride was sitting on the other side of the table. She felt as if I wasn't including her in the conversation. My boyfriend spoke with the other girls who were at the dinner, and everyone who was on my side of the table felt like the dinner went well, and there was nothing to note too. We were all singing karaoke. Everyone was taking turns putting in songs. The bride just finished singing a song, so I went to go put another song in. She was upset about that because I guess everyone was chanting for her to sing another song, but I was unaware she wanted to sing 2 songs in a row for the past hour. We've all been taking turns putting in songs. Apparently I wasn't trying to get to know all of the girls to this. I can say that I spent more time with some girls than other girls just because of the activities we were doing. Some girls weren't drinking, so they were sticking together and hanging out. Some girls were drinking, myself included, so naturally we stuck together and hung out. Commenter 3. Screw it, just go and enjoy some alone time while your BF is at the wedding. Get a massage, some food, just chill. If I were your BF though, at the party as things are winding down, I'd be telling as the best man I'm here because it's way too late to pull out, and I do still love you. But after this our relationship might not be the same, and I'm disappointed you didn't stick up for what you felt was right. Commenter 4. I agree with most of this, but I don't think he should wait until after the wedding is over to tell the groom this information. These men are supposed to be grown. He should call up his best friend and say, "Hey, I'm coming to the wedding and all, and will do my duties. And I love you, man, but once my part is done, I'm going to be leaving early and vacationing here with the woman I love, and I'm not sure where our relationship will be after the wedding, because I'm really disappointed that you aren't willing to stand up for what is right." The groom then has the chance to save his friendship, and if he decides to go hardcore and tell his friend not to bother coming, then they both still lose the relationship, but the couple still gets to go on a nice vacation together. They may run into the bride or groom or both, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's already paid for. For both of them, they can go as wedding guests or just as a couple. Stories number 6. Rekindle relationship with my husband after neighbor's husband admitted being the catfish. Hello everyone. My husband, 35, and I, 30F, married for 8 years, have been separated for the last 14 months, and I need help and advice on how to rekindle our relationship. We are currently not on speaking terms, and all our arrangements go through our lawyers, but I will have an opportunity over Christmas to clear the air and set things straight, as he will be flying in from Sydney to spend time with the kids. So what happened? I received a Facebook message in September last year that my husband was talking and exchanging naked photos with other women on Tinder. We spoke on the phone for a bit, and the only proof she had was a screenshot of their conversations and his profile. Long story short, I downloaded Tinder and found his profile, with his location less than 1 kilometer away. I was convinced that he was cheating, and we had a terrible fallout that evening, which led to my family coming over to calm the situation. But instead, it escalated when my brother punched and grabbed hold of my husband. The neighbors called the police, and my husband was asked to pack a few things and stay elsewhere for a while. We separated shortly after, and he has since moved to Sydney to be closer to his ailing father, but sees our kids for a weekend twice a month. Fast forward to the beginning of November this year. My neighbors rocked up at my doorstep to tell me that her husband was catfishing women on dating apps using my husband's photos. He downloaded these photos from a MacBook that we lent him during COVID, and some of these photos were of intimate nature and of me. The police are currently dealing with this. All of this has been relayed to my husband through his lawyer, but his response has been lukewarm, and he said we could talk about it over Christmas. I am so scared that we might be down too far the rabbit hole, and that he will likely push for a divorce, even though I know that we love each other deeply. But this took a massive toll on our mental health, finances, and the well-being of our 3 kids. What is the best way to approach him in December and make amends? TLDR neighbors used husband's photos to catfish women on Tinder for naked photos, husband. And I separated because I thought he was cheating. Neighbor's wife told me what her husband did. Police investigating, want to rekindle and make amends with husband comments. Commenter 1. Oh, and here's another thought. Perhaps reach out to any and all of his old friends. Make sure they all know the truth. Commenter 2. Yeah, OP. Try to salvage what you can for him. But I think the way things happened would have been very damaging. To be clear, I'm not blaming you for wanting to leave when you had clear proof from your perspective at the time that he had cheated. It's a reasonable reaction, but the way it took place seems so insanely violent and dramatic. You two got screwed over, not just by your neighbors, but also by your brother. Punching someone is never acceptable. It would have been a sucky and inappropriate reaction even if your husband had in fact cheated. Now imagine how your husband must have felt, considering it was entirely unwarranted. Being married is being part of a shared family. The fact that your family got in the middle of it and bodily hurt him would make anyone think twice about getting back in. If you really work hard on mending those bridges, if you ensure everyone takes stock and is accountable for their mistakes, and that includes your brother, then you might rebuild your relationship, but it will most probably take time. Commenter 3. Apologize to your husband, but don't expect forgiveness. It's sad your marriage was destroyed by a nefarious individual, but there is just too much hurt there. Love does not conquer. All life is not a Hallmark movie. Be cordial to your husband, set the record straight with family and friends, and then leave him alone. Commenter 4. First off, let him see his kids without drama. Don't love bomb him. Don't pester him to sit down and talk. Just keep your space and let him come to you. If he decides he still wants space, then keep your cool, and keep your family out of it. Commenter 5. Your husband experienced something that you will never understand. A false accusation. An assault from your brother. Spousal alienation. No right of recourse against the false accusation. A complete lack of loyalty from his wife. A complete lack of respect from his wife. The loss of the life he had from a false allegation. Parental alienation from his children. Familial alienation from his in-laws. Alienation from friends. The police were called and he had to leave. You separated from him. Your husband has already completed his grieving process. You ask, are you too far down the rabbit hole? Yesy, I'm afraid there is no going back for you. You chose to not listen to him when he said it was not him. Commenter 5. I agree. I don't think there's coming back from that. I understand you had reasons to believe he might be cheating, but it seems he had no chance to defend himself, and getting your family involved made everything even worse. He was punched and was told to leave his house by the police, has been living away from his kids for the past 14 months, and has been treated as a villain by friends. You say you love him, but I don't think love could erase everything you two have been through and rebuild. Trust. Commenter 6. Love does not accept allegations without certain proof, and without defense. Love does not alienate someone from friends, family, and loved ones. Love without action is nothing. She may say the word love, but her actions are worthless. Love without trust, loyalty, and respect is meaningless. Commenter 7. If OP had posted here when she originally got the message and found his profile, I guarantee everyone would be telling her she was stupid to believe her husband saying it wasn't him, and that she'd be back here in 6 months with an STD. It's weird how self-righteous people are being now with the benefit of knowledge she didn't have. Reply, thank you. I thought having a therapist present might help, but I have doubts, and think it is better not to involve others. The aftermath was devastating for us both, and more so for him when his friends and my family wrote him off. I still love him and never stopped, but I know it will be on his terms if he is willing to give it another chance. I am willing to do whatever it takes. Update. Hello everyone, I have had quite a few people ask for an update on what happened after we discovered that my neighbor was using my ex's photos to catfish other women. Unfortunately, after having sat down and discussed things, it was decided that our marriage was beyond repair and that we should go our separate ways. He is currently in therapy and has requested that we have a clean break with no further contact in the future. I intend to respect his wishes and will continue to communicate through his lawyer on matters that concern our kids. I have since cleared the air with our families and friends, and still actively work towards repairing his reputation. I would also like to clarify the assault and why my parents came over in the first place. The night of the argument, I called my mother to ask if I could drop off our kids and if they could spend the evening there, but she was concerned about my emotional state and asked that I stay put, and they would come to fetch the kids instead. They arrived, and my brother opted to stay outside while my parents came inside to grab the kids and their bags. At this point, my father asked to talk to my ex and calm the situation, and my mom dragged me away to get the kids and their bags ready. My brother was very confused when we came outside and was triggered by my mom saying that my ex might have cheated. My brother reacted the moment my ex walked out and grabbed my arm in a non-violent way, leading to the punch and scuffle on the front lawn. He was remorseful and apologized, even before we found out my ex was not to blame. It is a series of unfortunate events that has changed many lives and robbed my family of our love and happiness. 1. I have to focus on my kids, my depression, and coming to terms with the divorce I will never forget. But hopefully, the pain won't be as intense. Commenter 1. That poor guy loses his marriage, kids, gets assaulted, his whole life turned upside down. My heart hurts for him. I can't imagine the grief and angst he's gone through. Commenter 2. You are responsible for all this. Poor guy? Don't act like you are the victim here. Don't say a word to him and watch as he finds a wife more deserving and a family more loving. He deserves that much. Commenter 3. Phew. I remember the original post to this, and I'm predicted that your ex-husband wouldn't rekindle this. Too much damage has been done. You call it a scuffle on the front lawn. I mean, he was assaulted by your brother, praying for your ex, and I hope you can heal from this. Commenter 4. Well, things went way too far, and I can very much understand why your husband left. I would seriously be considering cutting your brother out of your life for a while, and also really consider your reaction to this, and how it all went terribly wrong. Commenter 5. You and your flying monkeys ruined him. Give him a clean divorce, give him space, give him freedom. Commenter 6. Your children are paying the price for your drama, hungry family. You have learned very little. Nothing happened without your agency. You were a foundational part of it, not some leaf blown in the wind. Take accountability. I wish your husband the best of luck. Commenter 7. You robbed your family of happiness after you betrayed your husband by not listening or trusting him. You will need to explain to your kids someday if what happened and how your lack of faith and trust in the person you married destroyed everything. Commenter 8. I feel so horrible for your husband. He needed help. He was a victim. He needed his wife, the one person who should always be by his side. And instead, you divorced him and allowed a brother who would be triggered by events to be there. He was assaulted. He lost his family, and he lost his wife. My heart breaks for him. What do you mean coming to terms with the divorce? You refuse to hear him out. What is there? To come to terms with? The fact that you wouldn't hear him out? Please, if you ever cared for him even the tiniest bit, do not attempt to rekindle with him. He may be desperate and go for it, but he needs to heal. He needs to find someone who will genuinely back him, love him, and trust him. You've done a lifetime of damage to him. Edit. You say, it is a series of unfortunate events that has changed many lives and robbed my family of our love and happiness. But it was your lack of belief in your husband, refusing to hear him out, and either spreading the lie or allowing the lie to be spread, that destroyed his life, your kids' lives, and robbed them of their love and happiness. Quit acting like you were powerless in all this. You could have heard him out, let him prove it wasn't him, and tried to find a different path. Instead, you rocked up with a violent brother and took the kids. You either allowed lies to spread uncontested or spread them yourself. Commenter 9. The man will be much better away from you. Recommend this place to those who are considering living with you. Let them read what you wrote. Let them know that you started the conflict by manipulating everyone and now you are narcissistic enough to act as if everything happened by itself, and you are the victim. You didn't explain to your family what you said on the phone. If you hadn't manipulated them, the whole family and your brother wouldn't come to pick up the kids. I guess this is the first time your brother has attacked someone, and don't try to hide yourself, you're a lousy person. Stories. Number 7. HOA insists. My sister and I are not a single-family household, and one of us should move out. We've lived here all our lives. I'm 21 and my sister is 19. We've lived in this house our entire lives. Our parents bought this house 27 years ago. They joined the HOA. About 15 years ago, my dad died 5 years ago. Mom died 6 months ago. We are now the owners of this house. We've been visited by the HOA multiple times. They're citing that we're not a single-family home anymore since our mom has died. They've told us that, according to the terms, only a single family can be resident in the homes, and being single-family is defined as a person or couple, and their legal unmarried children. This meant that my mom could live with me and my sister as it was a single family, according to the definition. But me and my sister living here after our mom's death means we are two families of single adults. They want one of us to move out so that this place becomes a single-family home again. They've visited us 4 times now, asking us to leave. They say they don't like to sue out of respect for our parents, but they will do that if we continue to refuse to comply by the community rules. Can they kick one of us out of our own house? What should we expect, and how can we fight this? Edit. Location is Washington State. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Do you have a copy of the HOA regs, and have you read through them to verify that what they are saying is actually true? Reply, I couldn't find a copy in our documents. I have asked them every time to send us a copy of the terms and they always say they will, but nothing has come. Commenter 2. What do they say when they come to the door and you ask them? I'd be inclined to tell them to stop harassing you until they can provide you a copy so you can have your lawyer review it. Reply, they say they're here on behalf of the HOA, to give us a friendly reminder that these are single-family households, and we are legally required to comply to the rules and things like that. But never have they given us anything in writing or given us the terms, despite us requesting a copy. Every single time, should we demand that they stop harassing us next time they showed up? Top comments. Commenter 1. If you want to be proactive, go to your county's recorder office and ask for help in this matter. Specifically, ask for help finding the HOA bylaws that your house is subject to. The HOA bylaws should be of record there. Many counties also allow you to access these records online as well. Commenter 2. Start by attending the next HOA meeting. Explain what's happening and see if they can't reconsider. There's a chance the other board members don't know this is even happening and could put a stop to whoever is pursuing this on their behalf. Not, as others have said, remind them that no judge is likely to side with them as their argument is ridiculous and callous. Commenter 3 sounds like someone in your neighborhood wants to force you out so they can buy your house. I call BS on their part. Update. So I first confirmed that they are from the HOA, not just some people harassing us for the fun of it. We also got the CCNR of the HOA, which included a clause about single family and its weird definition, if included partners, children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents, step-parents, stepchildren, uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, children of uncles and aunts, children of nieces and nephews, but no siblings. It even had a clause that said co-owners are not allowed to live there unless they are a single family based on the definition. We also received a letter from them telling us of our violation and demanding us to comply. So my sister and I went around the neighborhood and gave copies of the terms and the letter we received to everyone and told them, "Imagine you died tomorrow. Do you want them to kick out your kids? Because they're doing it to us. They will do it to your kids as well. Help us stop them." We gathered signatures and had almost everyone contact the president and demand that this should stop. Within 2 weeks, we received a letter that says this has been a mistake with an apology. We learned that this HOA is horrible to everyone, not just us. So there are now people preparing to run for the HOA board to replace the current members. And they're promising to have a referendum about whether the HOA should be dissolved or not, because it really is doing nothing of substance except being a pain in the butt of everyone. Summary: HOA backed off after we told everyone what they're trying to do. We will vote the board out of office, and there will be a referendum about dissolving it altogether as we don't need it. Stories number 8. My son's fiancé thinks I should be their free dog sitter. Because I work part-time, I never thought I'd be the kind of person to post online about family drama, but here I am, sitting in my kitchen with a cup of lukewarm coffee, trying to figure out if I handled this the right way. I'm 50, divorced, and I live alone in a small town in Illinois. I've worked retail for years, usually about 25 to 30 hours a week. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps me busy. My son Daniel, who's 28, recently got engaged to Emily, a 26-year-old teacher. I'm happy for them. Emily's sweet in a lot of ways, but if I'm honest, she can come across a little entitled. They've only been together 3 years, and I've done my best to welcome her. We've had brunches, shopping trips, long talks about wedding colors. But there's always been this subtle undercurrent, like she expects the people around her to bend to her schedule. The dog situation. A few months ago, Daniel and Emily adopted a big, high-energy dog. His name is Moose, a 70-pound Labrador mix, who is equal parts adorable and exhausting. He's the kind of dog who needs miles of walking, constant attention, and a very patient owner at first. I was excited to meet him. I had dogs when Daniel was younger, and I know how much joy they can bring. But I also know how much work they are. I figured I'd dog sit once in a while if they wanted a date night. No big deal. But last month, Emily cornered me after Sunday dinner at my house. Moose was bouncing around my living room, nearly knocking over a lamp, while Daniel tried to wrangle him. Emily sat down across from me, smiled sweetly, and said, "So, we were thinking, since you're not really working full-time, maybe you could watch Moose while we're at work. Just Monday through Friday, you know, until he gets a little older." I nearly choked on my coffee. I told her, "Emily, I love you both, but I can't commit to watching a high-energy dog every single day. I work part-time, yes, but I still work. I also have my own life." Her smile faltered. "Well, I just thought since you're not really busy during the day, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It's just a dog." I was stunned. Just a dog? This wasn't a goldfish. This was Moose, who needed constant attention, multiple long walks, and supervision, so he wouldn't chew through furniture. I told her gently but firmly, "I may not sit at a desk 9 to 5, but I do have responsibilities. I'm not a built-in pet service." She didn't argue, but her expression turned icy. The fallout. Over the next few weeks, I noticed a shift. Emily was still polite, but distant, shorter texts, fewer smiles when we were together. Daniel tried to smooth things over, saying, "She just felt like you shut her down. She wants to feel welcomed into the family." That floored me. Since when did saying no to being a full-time dog nanny equal making someone feel unwelcome? I love my son. I want him to be happy, but this felt manipulative, somehow. Like Emily expected me to fall into a certain role because of my work schedule. For the record, I don't mind watching Moose once in a while. I've done it before, and he's a sweet dog when he's not bouncing off the walls. But every single day? That's not realistic. I'm 50, I don't have the stamina for that, And frankly, I don't want the responsibility update when I had another run-in with Emily about the dog. She called me last Tuesday, sounding cheerful, and said, "Hey, could you pop by and let Moose out on your lunch break? He's been alone since we left this morning." I was at work. When I told her I couldn't, she sighed heavily and said, "Okay, I guess I'll ask Daniel's sister. My daughter Claire, who's 24 and works full-time as a nurse." "Not exactly someone with time to spare either later," Claire called me, frustrated. "Mom, Emily texted me at work asking if I could drive across town to let the dog out. I told her no, and she got weird with me too. What's her deal?" So it's not just me update. Daniel came over for dinner, just the two of us. He admitted Emily felt hurt that I didn't want to be more involved with Moose. I asked him straight out, "Do you expect me to be your free dog sitter?" He hesitated, then said, "No, but it would help us a lot. Emily just thought it was kind of natural, since you've got free time." That's when I lost my patience. I told him, "Daniel, I raised you. I raised Claire. I worked, cooked, cleaned, drove you to soccer practice, sat through every school play, and I did it all gladly. But Moose is your dog. You and Emily chose to adopt him. It's not my responsibility to shoulder the hard parts now." He was quiet for a long time, then finally nodded. "You're right, Mom, I'll talk to her." Where things stand now. Emily is still chilly with me. She's polite at family gatherings, but the warmth is gone. I've decided I can live with that. I'm not going to sacrifice my time, energy, and boundaries just to avoid making her uncomfortable. I love my son, and I will always support him. But part of supporting him means letting him and Emily figure out how to be responsible pet owners, without leaning on me as their safety net. Do I feel guilty? A little. I don't like conflict, especially with future in-laws. But I also know that if I cave now, it'll set the tone for years to come. Today it's dog sitting. Tomorrow it could be child care. And while I'm happy to be grandma someday, I won't be anyone's free daycare center either, so no, I'm not their unpaid dog nanny. I'm their mom, and that should be enough. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, it doesn't matter how many hours you work. It's your life. Your kid is grown with his own life too. Did she expect you to be at their beck and call? Reply, thanks, but I'm not really sure how to tell him so he understands my situation. Commenter 2, NTA, and be prepared for the making her feel unwelcome line to come out each time you don't give her whatever she wants. Reply, NT, if you wanted to commit to a dog, you would have your own. You have your own life, and it's irrelevant whether you are full or part-time. It's your life. You don't live to cater to others. She sounds very entitled. Has your son said anything about it? Commenter 3. Tell your son that his fiancée disrespected you, and as soon as she apologizes, you will be happy to move on. If she seems confused by your stand, have your son explain that it is best that everyone understand from the outset that you are no doormat and won't be treated like paid staff. Stories number 9 ATA for not answering my door. M26. I live in a building that only offers studios. I love it. The rooms are spacious, bright, and has a balcony overlooking trees and the outdoors. It's quiet, relaxing, and in a nice neighborhood. Honestly, it's the kind of layout that makes living alone enjoyable, which is great for me, since I prefer to be alone and not have to interact too much with people. The problem is that this building has a door that connects the parking area to the stairs. This door is the only access. Everyone has a key, without exception. The problem is that some neighbors don't seem to want to bring theirs. And since I live on the first floor, and there's no one else downstairs, guess whose doorbell they ring every time they're locked? Mine. At first I didn't mind helping out occasionally. People forget their keys, but it's become a habit for some. Instead of taking responsibility and carrying their own keys, they just rely on me to let them in and out. I've gotten to the point of deliberately ignoring the doorbell to avoid any confrontation. But the problem is, they don't just go away. They keep ringing the doorbell shamelessly, as if I were their personal doorman. It's frustrating. I love this space, but I no longer feel that sense of privacy when I'm treated like this. A neighbor who forgets their keys every now and then is one thing, but making it a habit at the expense of my peace of mind and boundaries is another. I've already disconnected the doorbell. Should I paste a note on the door asking not to be disturbed? Comments. Commenter. NTAI would be absolutely furious if people used me as their de facto doorman tbh. I'd be tempted to put a note on the door that says, "First time you forget your keys, it's free $10 for every time after that." Commenter 2, NTA. The keyed entryway is to ensure resident safety. You don't know everyone in the building. Someone who you are familiar with might have even gotten evicted. So, "but you know me," isn't valid identification. Tell them that in the interest of everyone's security, you are no longer opening the door to anyone. Reply, "Exactly. If something were to go wrong, I don't want to be caught up in anyone's mess." This is a great insight. Thanks, mate. Commenter 3, NTA, and no need for a note. Enjoy your disconnected doorbell. They will improvise, adapt, and overcome. Also, if they ever try to address this with you in person, remember not to justify, argue, defend, explain. You do not owe anyone anything with regard to this. Have a fixed phrase ready to minimize discomfort. Stories number 10. My M32 boss F38 just asked me to go on a vacation with her. Should I go on this trip? My boss has always been terrible at separating work from personal life, mostly because her work is her life. She does a lot of happy hours and dinners with our team, and is very friendly with everyone today. She and I had my one-on-one and she asked if I would go to Mexico with her. Fully paid by the company she owns, but clearly not for work, as we don't have any business there. I was caught so off guard that I didn't know what to say, and said I would think about it. I don't think she is into me as she has had an on and off boyfriend for a couple years. She said I'd have my own room and she just wanted to treat me to a trip, and thinks we would enjoy the time together. This was all said without any hint of flirting or anything. I'm not really sure what to think or do about this. She is a great boss, and honestly, I think it's completely innocent. I really like my job and would enjoy a paid trip, to be honest. What should I do here? Edit. All right, to answer some questions, LOL. Yes, she is very beautiful, though I'm not interested. Even if she wasn't my boss, I've only been with one woman and don't sleep around. I was married and my wife passed away when I was 27. I've dated but haven't been with anyone. Comments. Commenter 1. Why wouldn't you go? You either take the opportunity or think about it after it's passed. Reply, yeah, that's probably true. Plus she would be disappointed, huh? Commenter 2. Tell her I'll go in your place. Free vacation. You're a fool not to take it. Commenter 3. I have been in corporate a long time. Stuff like this gets messy very easily. Reply, yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Stories number 11. A senior coworker keeps calling me my manager's girlfriend. Over the past year, I've made a great connection with one of my managers. Lucas, he and I have a similar work ethic. Our senses of humor mesh. We get along, and shifts with him go smoothly and fast. As single people in our late 30s, who both have never been married and don't have or want kids, this has aided in my developing a crush on him. But while we are friendly and can be a little flirty, there is nothing between us other than friends and co-workers. Our company has policies against management dating employees, regardless. Recently, another manager, Jane, who is senior to me, was there when I brought Lucas beverages. Ever since, Jane watches our interactions non-stop and teases us. She's constantly calling him my boyfriend in front of my co-workers and telling him that he needs to learn to control his girlfriend. When I ask her questions, he hasn't said anything to me about it, because I know his approach when people are trying to get a rise out of him is to not indulge it. I know these are middle school bully actions, but they are stressing me out. How do I approach such a person, especially in management, and tell them so? Also, instead, should I tell Lucas how her comments are making me feel while leaving out my feelings for him, and let him handle it instead, since she is a fellow manager? Update, it got back to Jane. I was uncomfortable with what she was saying, so she pulled me aside and asked in the future if I could come to her directly with any issues I have with her. She apologized for making me feel uncomfortable, but she meant no harm, as she could tell I had a crush on Lucas. After your advice and the comments, I tried pulling back from Lucas, but it was difficult every time I would. His flirting would intensify. At this point, I must own my actions and feelings because Lucas was the first man I was truly interested in romantically in years. Our flirting and his favoritism towards me intensified. Just about everyone left it alone, or would use it to their advantage, asking me for favors because they knew Lucas would do it for me. The only person annoyed by Lucas and me was the newly promoted shift leader, Bill. He and I clashed on the nights he'd be in charge, after the manager would go home because he had new ideas on how things should be run, despite the fact that they went against company standards. I told our general manager about it. When Bill was called in to talk about it, Lucas told the general manager he was staying out of it because he knew everyone would automatically assume he would take my side. And that wasn't fair to Bill. Bill did get in some trouble and he decided it was my fault. A couple months later, on a night Bill was in charge, I ended up having a very difficult customer who kept saying awful things to me and who I couldn't please no matter what. I finally snapped and said something I shouldn't have. The customer started yelling at me, and it caught the attention of Bill. And I was sent home. Bill called our general manager about the whole thing, and my next 3 shifts were canceled. The general manager fired me over the phone. I was so upset, mostly because this was not how I wanted things to end between Lucas and me. A few days after I was fired, I stopped by in the evening, and Jane was working. She gave me a hug and asked what happened. Turns out neither the general manager or Bill told anyone what happened. Despite their asking where I was, she said I needed to stop by and see Lucas, so I did. I told him my side of what happened, and he said the whole thing was stupid, that if he or Jane or even the other manager had been on, I would have just been written up since he was no longer my boss. Towards the end of the conversation, I asked if he wanted to get dinner at the restaurant. He was always talking about wanting to go to but never had the time. He said he appreciated the offer, but it was going to be a no. I was crushed. I have spent several months getting over him, upset and confused. I have never had a man show so much interest in me, flirt with me like that, only to say no. A lot of my friends tell me it sounds like he liked having me enamored with him, and the thrill of it being off limits, and able to toe the line with flirting and banter. But the moment it could be official, it wasn't interesting. Work-wise, I'm doing good. I finish my master's this semester, and I have a part-time job in the field in which I'm getting my master's. They are working on getting me a raise and more hours. Knowing I am going to look for a full-time job after I graduate, I know I'm not completely over Lucas, but I will be eventually. The hard lesson is don't flirt at work, and don't be pulled back into it after you pull yourself out. Stories. Number 12. I sit in my car for an hour after work and tell everyone it's traffic. It's the happiest part of my day. I park a couple blocks from home, kill the engine, and just exist. No radio, sometimes a podcast, sometimes I stare at a leaf on the windshield. I text traffic to the family group chat and sit there like a raccoon pretending to be a functioning adult. It started during a rough week. I told myself I needed 5 minutes to decompress so I wouldn't bring the office home. 5 minutes became 15, then an hour. Now that quiet metal box is the only place where nobody needs anything from me. Here's the part I'm not proud of. I've missed dinners. I've let calls ring out. I've walked in with a tired smile and a lie about a stalled truck on the highway. There's always a stalled truck somewhere. Even when I'm nowhere near a highway, I'm not cheating. I'm not job hunting. I'm just exhausted and addicted to being unreachable. I think I'm scared that if I say, I need an hour to myself, people will hear, I don't love you. So I picked the coward's version. Silence and excuses. It feels harmless, but it isn't. It chips away at trust, and I can hear it in the little pause before they say, okay? I'm confessing because I don't want the happiest part of my day to be hiding. I'm going to tell them the truth and ask for a real boundary. 1 hour after work, phone on, do not disturb. Then I show up fully if they say no. At least I finally said something real. If anyone else does the car park thing, you're not a monster. But the quiet hits different when it isn't stolen. Comments. Commenter. 1. For about a year, someone who lives in the apartment complex next to mine would park in our parking lot for an hour and listen to Sound of Silence on repeat. In his car before going home, I nicknamed him the Beast. Not because he was some kind of monster. I just figured he was a manifestation of everyone's inner beast, seeking out a moment of peace in the world. Commenter. 2. For a few months in my mid-20s, I had an hour-plus commute on the train each way. I met people who had been doing that commute 5 days a week for 15 years. At that point, mid-late 90s, not many people had cell phones on them all the time. So you were truly unreachable. I hated that commute. But I realized that for many of the people on that train, it was the only time during the day when people weren't demanding stuff from them. Commenter 3. I think that's great. The only thing is, does your partner get the same? If they're always stuck between work and kids, maybe they need it too, and maybe a way to be honest is offering them the same. Commenter 4. I'm going to say is that if you have a partner, they're going to expect you to return this hour for them. They're going to need an hour. Maybe it's not the same day. Maybe that you entertain your family minus your partner for a whole day on the weekend when you have it off, and you make plans for your kids and offer for your partner to go along, but also say you don't have to go along, you can just relax and do whatever you need because I take 5 hours during the week to myself. I want to give you 5 hours to do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Self-care is important for everybody. Stories number 13. Aita for not letting my neighbor's kids use my backyard pool anymore. I live in a duplex with a decent-sized backyard. When I moved in last year, I installed one of those above-ground pools. It is not huge, but it is enough to cool off in during the summer. My neighbors have 2 kids under 10, and when they saw the pool last summer, they asked if their kids could come over sometimes to swim. I agreed, because I figured it would be nice for them, and I liked the idea of being a good neighbor at first. It was fine. But gradually it turned into them expecting to use the pool almost every day. The parents stopped even asking me if it was okay and would just send the kids over and tell them to knock on my door. Sometimes I would come home from work, and the kids were already in my yard because their parents told them it was fine. The final straw was last week when I went outside and saw one of the kids had spilled juice into the pool, and the other had broken one of the pool floats. I told the parents politely that I was not comfortable with them using it anymore. They got defensive and said I was being uptight and unfair to their kids, especially since it is just water, and I do not even have children of my own who would use it. Now I feel like the mean neighbor. They barely talk to me when we pass each other, and another neighbor implied that I am not very community-minded for shutting the kids out. I am not trying to be rude. I just do not want my property treated like a public pool. Aita for banning my neighbor's kids from my pool after they kept crossing boundaries. Comments. Commenter. 1. Nope, out a fence if there's not one and lock it. Install cameras. 2. Commenter 2. I have thought about the cameras. Commenter 3. You may want to get a lawyer to send them a letter telling them that their children are no longer allowed in your pool or on your property. If one of those children got hurt, or God forbid, drowned in your pool, you could be held liable. Make sure you have posted signs that clearly state no one is allowed to swim in your pool. Is there a way for you to gate up the steps to your pool? If so, do it. This is a terrible liability for you. Protect yourself. Commenter 4. You were a fool to let them start using the pool in the first place without a very strict list of rules. The first rule being that they shouldn't be using the pool when you're not home, since it's your liability, and the second being that mom needs to be out there with them watching her kids so they don't drown, which would also be your liability. Pool ownership is a huge responsibility. Stop taking it so lightly. Stories number 14. Aitk for refusing to let my partner visit her family in India with our 4-year-old child. I, 37M, have been living abroad for the past 5 years with my partner, 25F, and our child, 4. I love her more than anything in the world, probably more than is healthy to admit. She's my entire focus, my reason for everything I do. I want her safe, happy and free from anyone who might hurt her. Recently, she said she wants to visit her family in India. She wants our child to meet grandparents, aunts, uncles, and extended relatives. I understand why she feels that's important, but I couldn't let her go. I know it makes me sound controlling, obsessive, maybe even villainous. But I can't stop thinking about the past. I can't stop remembering the people who tried to hurt her when she was pregnant, the humiliation she suffered, and the chaos they caused. My instinct is to protect her, even if it means making hard, unpopular choices. She says I'm overprotective, unfair, and controlling. Maybe she's right, but I can't separate my love from my need to control the things that might hurt her or our child. So Aitk for loving her so much that I can't let anyone, even her family, threaten our life and safety. Overall consensus feel. YTK sub hates him and calls his actions as predatory due to the age gap and due to the fact that during the conception of their baby, the wife would have been 19 and he was 31. Update 1. AITK for refusing to let my partner visit her family in India with our 4-year-old child. Follow-up. Here's my side of the story. Same day as the original post. Look, people are very quick to judge. Yes, I was 32. She was 20. When she got pregnant, she's my BIL's younger sister. We first met at a wedding when she was 18. No grooming, no countdown, I was a virgin. Had urges like any normal man, but I never acted until I was sure she was the one. When I realized she was, we chose to be together and lost our virginity to each other. Nothing wrong in that. I've dated women my own age. Most cheated because I wanted commitment, loyalty, someone I could truly trust. I never slept with anyone. BCZ, I couldn't see a future with them. She, confident, independent, and she made the first move in bed. And still somehow, I'm the villain? When she got pregnant, her family literally threw her out. No bag, no money, no food. She was standing outside for 18 hours, shivering and starving. I was overseas at a business conference when she called me crying, telling me everything. I dropped everything and booked the first flight home. I prayed the whole way for her and our unborn child. When I finally saw her at the airport, exhausted, terrified, and hungry, I felt completely helpless. The woman I love, carrying my child, deserved everything, and she didn't even have a bottle of water or a proper meal. I still remember her face: panic, fear, shame, and I felt like I had failed her. That night I put her in a hotel, then found a proper apartment in a secure society. I personally cooked for her, bought groceries, and stayed awake nights worrying about her health. I attended every prenatals checkup I could, but even then her relatives came pretending to reconcile. The moment they were near, they attacked me, leaving me with fractures so bad I couldn't walk. My own family refused to help. I literally felt cornered and helpless. The guilt, fear, and anger I felt for what she and our child endured is with me every day. Half the people shouting "creep" would cheer if a 33-year-old woman had a 21-year-old partner. But because I'm a man, suddenly I am predatory. Spare me. I didn't pick her for her age. I chose her because she is strong, stubborn, and independent. If you think she can be controlled, you don't know her. When everything collapsed, I showed up. I fought for her. I took care of her. Bleeding, broken, terrified, helpless. That is what real commitment looks like. I risked my health, safety, and career to protect her. So before you type your next creep or control freak comment, remember this. While you were safe behind your screen, I was risking everything to protect the mother of my child. Judge me if you want. I'll take reality over opinions any day. Now I want to know truly if am I the Kamina, given things happened in past. Edit 1. Her parents had her quite late in life. Her brother, my Bill, is 41 now. They were always distant, never really involved in her daily life, and mostly kept her in boarding school to mostly focus on their career and their personal life. Because of this distance, they didn't understand her independence or feelings. Edit 2. From the very beginning of our relationship, I tried to give her a sense of security and independence. I even gave her a credit card in my name so she could manage things on her own, but her family took it away from her when they found out. It wasn't just unfair. It was inhumane. And it left my wife with no options at all. Till I came back. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're the Kamina. I didn't pick her for her age, said every predator ever. She was so mature for her age, also said by every predator ever. She was 20 when she was pregnant. So you were having sex with her since she was 19? 19-year-olds literally have brains that have not fully formed yet. A 32-year-old man having sex with a 19-year-old is simply predatory behavior. Full stop. You also have glaring double standards. Somehow in your eyes, when she was 20, she was adult enough to have sex with a 32-year-old man. But at 25, she's not old enough to make her own decisions, and she needs you to protect her? Which is it? Even your chosen username shows so much arrogance. Defiant, protector reply. Yes, we started having sex when we were 30 and 18 respectively. But it was lovemaking. I was a virgin, and couldn't hold back my desire in front of the woman I loved. She understood my years of restraint, and gave me release and trust in return. This was mutual and born of love, not predation. My role as a defiant protector never meant controlling arrogance. It meant keeping my wife and our child safe from real threats, even if it meant defying people's closest to us. Commenter 2. Dude, you do understand that she was a teenager, and still is just 22 with not a completely developed brain, while you are a 34-year-old man who is like an adult. This not pedophilia, sure, but it is kind of predatory, and you are gonna see her become her own person in next 2 to 4 years. As her brain develops, there is a lot that's going to change. Then reply, after the first time when she was 18, and I was 30. I honestly felt both alive and sick at once. I knew I had taken her first time, and I should have stopped there, but I wanted her too much within weeks. We were sleeping together almost every day, and by then there was no going back. The guilt was always there, but I pushed it aside because I didn't want to lose her now. She's 25 and I'm 37, and it doesn't feel wrong anymore, but I can't lie. That shadow from the start is still in me. Update AITK for refuse to let my wife visit India? My father is on the verge of death, open heart surgery in around 1 month. Suddenly, my family wants me back. The way it happened stings even more, and my mom and sister didn't tell me directly. They manipulated my wife, saying, "Beta, come see your parents." When the real plan was to drag me to see my father, I fought with my wife for days, thinking, how can you forgive parents who threw you out? Only yesterday she told me the truth. It was never about her parents. It was about mine. She just didn't want me to regret not seeing my father if something happened. And it might be the last time we would be able to see him. And she feels I will resent her in future if I don't visit him. The thing is, I already lived that grief once. When they threw me out, it felt like they had died. I kept trying, again and again, to make contact. Every time rejection, insults. Till 30, I had nothing of my own. I was lonely, but I devoted myself to my parents. And sister, I sacrificed everything, even hid my relationship for 2 years, because I didn't want to disturb the happy family my sister had with her husband. I carried guilt for being with her husband's sister. I thought, when the time was right, they would understand. Instead, when I finally chose my own happiness, they left me. When my girl got pregnant and her family threw her out for refusing abortion, I stood by her. I begged my parents to shelter us, to support us. That was the moment they turned their backs. They told me I was abandoning them for her and said that she would eventually abandon me and betray me. No, it was the other way around. He slapped me. They abandoned me when I was about to become a father. I was broken. I went into depression. I tried again and again to reach out. Every time, they shut me out. So I let go and rebounded, since I built my own family, and it wasn't easy, but we're happy now. My parents had years to open their hearts when it mattered. They chose not to. Now suddenly, when my father's heart is failing, it's open. When his heart was living strong, it was heartless. That's what I can't forget. My wife says she'll still visit. She hasn't forgiven them, but she feels a dying man deserves at least that. Maybe she's stronger, kinder than me. As for me, I feel nothing anymore. The son they want back, he already died years ago. So no, I'm not flying back to play dutiful son. My real family is here. The ones who never abandoned me. I could have bowed my head as a son to a father, but never as a father, whose fatherhood was disrespected. When I needed them most, they turned me away. Now when they need me, I'm supposed to forget everything? It's AITK for refusing to let my wife visit India. I couldn't edit the title. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It took me 30 minutes to go through all 3 of your posts, and the pattern is clear. Honestly, OP, this doesn't sound like love. It sounds like control. You were in your 30s when you got involved with someone barely out of her teens, and now you're using protection as a reason to dictate her choices. That's not healthy. What makes it worse is the contradiction. She was mature enough for you to sleep with and have a baby at 18. But now at 25 she's suddenly too naive to decide for herself if she wants to visit her family. You can't have it both ways. Either she's an adult with full autonomy, or you've been exploiting her from the start. If I were you, I'd accompany her to show that you're a family, and support her while setting healthy boundaries. That way, you're protecting her without isolating her. But trying to forbid her only reinforces the unhealthy power imbalance in your relationship. She has made her decision, and you must respect it. Now update 3, AITK, for expecting respect as a father at. My in-laws, I 37M, married my wife without her parents' approval. We had no contact for 5 years. Now, after 5 years, we came back to India for some work. They knew about our visit. I thought maybe things would be civil this time. Clearly, I was wrong. Her family invited my wife and daughter for Ganesh Puja but not me. My little girl clung to my leg and crying, asking why Papa can't come. How do you even explain to a child that her father is not welcome in her Nana Nani's house? My wife refused to go without me, so she sent our daughter alone. And now somehow, I'm the problem. They're saying that if my wife didn't want to go without me, I should have just gone anyway so she could attend. Basically, I'm expected to swallow my pride, turn up uninvited, and act invisible while they enjoy with my child. Then my Bill joked that my daughter is too beautiful to be mine. Everyone laughed, except me. How is my child's paternity a joke? That was the final straw. I calmly told them that if they can't respect me as her father, then I won't bother respecting them. And I left. Now I'm branded Kamina. My wife is being scolded for standing by me, and all I'm asking is minimum decency. Is it really too much to expect basic respect? I'm not asking for love or approval, just to be treated as my daughter's father. Next time maybe I should just wait outside like a driver, since that seems to be my place in their eyes. Apparently, my biggest crime is marrying their daughter without their permission. Something half of India does these days, yet only I am treated like a criminal edit. To all the people. Sometimes I think what happened between me and my wife just happened earlier than it should have. Otherwise, it would have happened anyway. Marriage, child, family. But because it happened the wrong way, we are forever branded as a mistake. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why did you guys go there at all? Who sends their kids somewhere where they as parents aren't welcome or respected? This is such nonsense. Cut them out and let them be alone, like their attitude is begging for edit. OP is a pedophile, y'all. Nothing to see here. He skirt-chased an 18-year-old, his BIL's little sister, no less, at his old man age of 30, and got her pregnant and kicked out at 20. Commenter 2. God forbid. But what if some 30-year-old man take a hit on your 18-year-old girl? What will you feel even while thinking this moron? Reply, don't you dare drag my daughter into this filth. Say anything to me, I'll take it. But if a 30-year-old ever touches her, I'll destroy him. That's not hypocrisy, that's a father's love. My case was different. My wife wanted me. She saved me when I was broken. What we had was real, not some dirty fling. I'm not like the creeps you compare me with. My life was an exception. Stories number 15. My boyfriend of 10 years told me he doesn't like me, then apologized. 5 minutes later. Do I believe him? I honestly don't know where to start. I've been sitting at my desk for 2 hours, rereading texts, replaying conversations, and staring at the ceiling like it's going to give me answers. I feel stupid even typing this, but I need outside perspective. I'm 33. My boyfriend Ryan is 34. We've been together for 10 years, living together for 9. We met in our mid-20s through mutual friends at a summer BBQ. Ryan was funny, charming, that kind of magnetic personality that makes a whole group lean in closer. We started dating a few weeks later, and the rest is, well, 10 years of life together. Everyone asks us when we're getting married. It's the running joke in our families. At Christmas, my Aunt Susan nudges me and says, "Any ring yet?" At Thanksgiving, his cousin Melissa smirks and says, "Better lock him down before my friends do." For years, I'd laugh it off because honestly, I didn't know what the holdup was either. Ryan always said, "One day, babe, I promise." But now, after last week's argument, I think I know the real answer, and it hurts more than I can even put into words. The argument? It started over something stupid. Doesn't it always? Ryan's mom, Linda, called me last Friday while he was at work. She asked if she could borrow $300 to cover a bill until her next paycheck cleared. She's a good woman. a single mom who raised 3 kids after her husband left. I've lent her money before, nothing major, and she's always paid me back. So I said yes. When Ryan came home, I mentioned it casually while we were making dinner. Oh, by the way, your mom needed some help with a bill, so I spotted her $300. She'll pay me back Friday. I expected a thank you. Instead, he snapped. Why would you do that without asking? Me? I blinked. Because it's your mom and she needed help. I didn't think it was a big deal. He slammed the knife down on the cutting board. It is a big deal. You don't just hand out money without talking to me first. I tried to explain, but he kept getting louder. I could feel my chest tightening, the way it always does when we fight. I finally said, Ryan, stop yelling, I'm not your enemy here. And that's when he said it, maybe you are my enemy. I don't even like you. That's why I haven't married you. The words hit me like a brick to the chest. 10 years. 10 years of building a life together, of waiting for the proposal, of fielding everyone's questions with a smile, and that's the reason? Because he doesn't like me? I completely shut down. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there staring at him like I didn't recognize the man in front of me. Finally, I said, I'm done talking. I went upstairs, shut the bedroom door, and sat on the edge of the bed in silence. 5 minutes later, I heard him come up. The door creaked open. His voice was soft now. Careful, babe. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that I was angry. I didn't mean to hurt you. But here's the thing. He never said, I didn't mean it. He never took it back. He only apologized for saying it out loud. The aftermath. It's been a few days since then. Ryan has acted normal, kissing my cheek in the morning, texting me memes during his lunch break, suggesting we grab pizza for dinner, but I can't unhear those words. Every time he laughs, I wonder, does he even like me? Every time he holds my hand, I wonder, is this just habit for him? I keep going back to that moment, the way his face looked when he said it. He wasn't joking. He wasn't smirking. His eyes were cold. I asked him once gently if he really meant it. He groaned, rubbed his face, and said, God, no, I was mad, that's all. You know I love you. But that's not what I asked. Love and like aren't the same thing. You can love someone out of loyalty, history, routine, but liking them, choosing them, wanting them, that's different. And he didn't give me that reassurance, why I haven't left yet. I know what Reddit will say, 10 years and no ring. He's not going to marry you. He told you how he feels, believe him? You already know the answer. And maybe you're right, but walking away after 10 years isn't simple. We share a house, we share bills. Our lives are entangled in 1,000 little ways. Joint Costco memberships, furniture we picked out together, a dog named Max who sleeps at the foot of our bed. I've invested a decade into this man. Do I really just leave? Part of me feels like I need to grow a spine, pack my bags and start fresh. Another part of me wonders if I'm throwing away something that could be fixed if I just have patience. But then I hear his words again. I don't like you, and patience feels like a waste of time. Update 1. I confronted him again. We were watching TV, and I paused the show. My heart was racing, but I forced myself to ask, Ryan, do you actually like me? Not love me, like me. He looked irritated, like I'd just asked him if the sky was blue. Of course I like you. Stop digging at that one fight. I said it because I was pissed. You know that, I said. Then why didn't you say that when you apologized? He shrugged. I don't know, because I figured you knew Jesus. You always overthink everything. And just like that, the conversation was over. He pressed play, and we pretended nothing happened. But I don't feel better. If anything, I feel worse. Update 2. We went to his cousin Melissa's wedding last weekend. She got engaged after dating her boyfriend for 3 years. As they exchanged vows, I couldn't stop staring at Ryan. I wondered if he was thinking the same thing I was. Why? Not us? On the way home, I asked him quietly, Do you even want to marry me someday? He kept his eyes on the road. Yeah, someday. I'm just not in a rush. 10 years. Not in a rush. I stared out the window and swallowed hard. I didn't push it further, where I'm at now. I think I already know my answer. I'm 33. If I want marriage, Kids, a future with someone who actually wants me. I can't keep wasting time hoping Ryan will wake up one day and change. He told me the truth in anger. And I believe him. He doesn't like me. Maybe he loves me out of habit. Maybe he's comfortable, but he doesn't like me enough to choose me forever. And I need to choose myself. Stories number 16. You can't have a child-free destination wedding and get upset if people can't make it. My best friend is having a destination wedding which was originally meant to be child-free. At the time of the engagement, it wasn't an issue, but several of us have since had babies. They recently decided 2 couples would be allowed to bring theirs because of childcare issues. With the way they communicated this to us, we assumed we could bring our baby. But when I mentioned something about it last week, my friend said only people who really can't find childcare can bring their baby. A few days later, she told us that she was in the middle of a big fallout with another couple who lied about not being able to get childcare to bring their baby to the wedding, and said it could not be out of childcare preferences, but out of necessity. With justifications on who could and couldn't bring them, one couple, whose baby was born 1 month before ours, is allowed because one side's parents live abroad and the other can't be trusted to look after the baby fine. But similar circumstances don't apply to us. My parents live abroad, and my husband's have too many family commitments. On top of this, my baby is exclusively breastfed, won't take a bottle, so needs to be in the country with us, and I'd have to leave to feed the baby. When I brought this up, it transpired that they assumed we could pay for one set of parents to travel with us to the destination to babysit for one night, saying they don't ask much of their friends, and suggesting it's because we earn enough to cover it well. Travel to their venue from where our parents live, takes a whole day, and that plus a 2-night stay costs more than a week's wages. Asking guests to cover that, and asking parents to give up that much leave allowance and time to babysit for one night is a huge ask in my view. The idea of alternative, having my husband and baby travel at great cost to not attend a wedding other babies can attend, is too unpalatable to me. So here I am, in a position where I will likely not be able to attend my best friend's wedding, because we don't tick the right unable to get childcare box. I've been told by a mutual friend that me not attending could kill the friendship, but I can't see myself being able to get past this. If my husband and baby are excluded from a wedding, other babies can attend based on higher expectations of us and our families. Commenter. Her being so weird about this would kill the friendship. All you need to say is the truth. My parents aren't available to travel, and I can't travel without my kid. I don't want to miss your wedding, of course, but my current workable options are bring kid or don't come since I need to stay with kid. Which would you prefer? And if she pushed, I know, this is so difficult. For me too, my options are limited here, so of the options I have available, which do you think I should do? And if she says, bring your parents, that's not an option for us. Bringing my parents is not on the table. The options I have are to bring the kid or stay home. I totally understand if kids aren't workable in this situation, but I'm in a life stage where I can't be without my child. The timing was just off on this one. I have a kid who can't be left. You have a child-free wedding. Both reasonable, but not compatible. If this ends the friendship, a destination wedding, which people know means lots of guests won't be able to attend, then so be it. She is the one ending it, not you. Commenter 2. This is a massive, massive fail on their part, and if they're that close to you, they should be able to hear you tell them so and not attack you for it. If they can't, well, you just learned something about how they value you. Commenter 3. She may be your best friend, but are you hers? I cannot imagine assuming such bullshit of my best friend, like how much she can afford. And my best friend would never treat me like this. Commenter 4. How the hell is she supposed to not bring the baby when she's actively breastfeeding it too? Let's make sure, along with all the other inconveniences, she goes pump crazy and freezes the milk, and gets another caretaker to be with her child, who she will probably desperately be missing, while she sits in the wedding reception bathroom pumping her painful engorged breasts and pours the milk down the drain. Want to have a child-free wedding? Okay, but don't expect nursing mothers to go to a destination wedding and leave the kid at home or in the hotel room. Can't wait to see what that woman will be like when she has kids. Reply. This wouldn't even be an option because my baby refuses to take a bottle and would just starve herself. Stories number 17. Our 6-year anniversary is tomorrow, but I'm not sure if he's going to propose. Should I stay patient? My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 6 years. Our anniversary is tomorrow, and I'm starting to feel incredibly anxious. I'm 31, turning 32 this year, and he's about to turn 29. We've had some big life shifts over the years. Not necessarily ups and downs, but changes that have impacted where we are now. Last year, on our 5-year anniversary, he did acknowledge the day. He brought home some flowers and a card, but it was toward the evening. It didn't feel personal or intentional. When I asked him why he didn't really plan anything, he said that he felt it would be embarrassing to celebrate being a 5-year girlfriend. His words, not mine. He said he only wanted to celebrate with a proposal, that he didn't want to go all out for an anniversary if it wasn't going to include that. But shortly after, I found out he had just been laid off from his job around that same time. A few weeks later, we moved out of the apartment we'd been living in together for 3 years and moved back in with our parents, separately, with a plan to save money and move our life forward. That was a year ago. We've now both been at home for a year, and we've talked a lot about our future. Marriage, kids, home ownership. All of it. And here's the part that's bothering me now. A few months ago in July, my dad happened to see him as he was arriving at my house. They spoke briefly, and my dad asked him in a respectful, non-pressuring way, "You've been around a long time. When are you planning to propose to my daughter?" My boyfriend told him confidently, "Before the end of next month," meaning before the end of August. My dad is usually chill and doesn't get into stuff like this, but he just decided to ask him. We're now at the end of August. Our anniversary is tomorrow, Friday, and August ends this Sunday, and I haven't seen or heard anything that suggests he's actually planning to follow through. He hasn't mentioned a dinner reservation. No hints, no dress nice, no don't make plans, just regular daily interaction. And I've been intentionally avoiding dropping hints because I want the proposal to feel real and special. Not like something I poked or pressured him into. This morning, I tested the waters and sent him a link to an art walk event happening this weekend in Destin. About 2 hours away from us, I framed it as something I was interested in doing. Didn't mention proposals or anything like that. He replied enthusiastically, and even said he could get us an Airbnb from Saturday through Monday, so we can make a weekend of it. And while that might sound like initiative, it's making me feel uneasy, because to me, that confirms he didn't have any actual plans already in place. If he did, he would have had to decline or rework the weekend, not just say, "Yeah, let's go," and suggest a spontaneous trip. This has happened before. On Valentine's Day earlier this year, he said he had something special planned. And when I found out what it was tickets to Universal Studios and Disney World. A big gesture, sure. But what I really wanted was progress. The proposal. Not just another trip or experience to distract from what really matters to me. To be clear, he's told me recently that his savings are looking really good. That stuck with me. If finances are in order and the relationship is steady, what's the holdup? I've already made up my mind that I won't accept a proposal that comes after September 1st. Not because I'm trying to give an ultimatum, but because it simply won't feel special anymore. It would feel late, like I had to wait him into it. And I can't accept that I'm at a point in life where I want to build something. A home, a family, a future. And I can't keep dragging my heart through these kinds of almost moments just to keep the peace. So I'm asking, am I being unreasonable? Would you wait past the deadline he set for himself? Or would you take his inaction as the answer? Update, I'm getting ready for dinner as I type this, but honestly, a part of me feels like I'm not going to be proposed to tonight. And that's a hard pill to swallow. In the last post, I mentioned that he told me verbatim that I would not be his girlfriend by our next anniversary. He said he would 1,000% be proposing by then, and he told my dad the same thing, so this wasn't something I imagined or hinted about. It came directly from him. Now, fast forward to today. He sent me a sweet good morning text, booked me a massage for 5 p.m., and made dinner reservations at one of our favorite restaurants for 8:30 p.m. But the restaurant closes at 9 p.m. That already raised an eyebrow for me. I asked him if he meant 7:30 instead, and he just said, "Nah, but I can move it up earlier if you want." That response, and the fact that he only called the restaurant earlier today, made things feel more casual than I expected. I guess I'm just sitting here asking myself, would it be unreasonable for me to leave him if he doesn't propose tonight? Yes, there are a few days left in August. But if you tell someone you're going to do something by a certain date, and they plan their heart around that timeline, are they wrong for walking away when it doesn't happen? I'm trying not to spiral. I know there's still a dinner to go to, but deep down, I'm preparing myself to be let down, and trying to figure out what comes next. If I am update, he handed me a David Yurman bracelet that I've been wanting for months now. He's being pretty quiet at dinner. Our anniversary was yesterday. He planned a dinner at one of our favorite restaurants, and earlier in the day, he told me he had booked a massage for me and that we had 8:30 reservations. When he got to my house, he had a big bouquet of flowers and the David Yurman bracelet I'd been wanting. But the way he gave it to me felt strange. It was off. He didn't look me in the eye. He just passed the bag to me quickly before heading to the bathroom to change. I said thank you, but a part of me knew in that moment, when he gave me that expensive bracelet like that I wouldn't be getting a proposal that night. He kept telling me I looked beautiful and amazing, and that he liked the color I was wearing. I'd put effort into looking good for our anniversary, and I know I looked good. But when I looked at him, there was a sadness or disappointment in his eyes. Something felt off. I think he was picking up on how quiet I had gotten after he gave me the bracelet. When we got to the restaurant, he tried making small talk, but I wasn't really going. I was just mirroring his energy because something in me could tell he wasn't fully present. Eventually, I asked him why he was so quiet, and I brought up the bracelet. He immediately defended himself, saying he was just on his way to change clothes, and didn't mean anything by how he gave it to me. I told him it just didn't feel special. Then I asked him directly, "Are you proposing tonight?" He looked disappointed and said, "No." That's when I told him to cancel the food order because I was ready to leave, and I got up and walked out. When we got in the car, I told him I felt like this was over. I said if I stayed, I'd just be wasting more time. I asked when he planned to propose, and he started fumbling over his words and said something like, maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I told him he had until today, and that was it for me. The car ride home was quiet. When we got close to the house, I didn't say much. I got out and went inside a few minutes later. I noticed he had turned his location off. I texted him shortly after and told him to come get the dog and his things. He came back, picked everything up, and we ended up having one final conversation before he left. I told him flat out, I'm getting older, I'm in my early 30s, and I've been clear that I'm ready to move forward with my life. He gave me his word, and he even gave my father his word that he would propose by the end of this month. Now all of a sudden, when I ask directly, he tells me probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I asked him what difference a few weeks would even make. He said I was wrong to assume he doesn't want to marry me, or that he doesn't love me. He said that he loves me more than he loves himself. He said he hates that it looks like he doesn't want to marry me because that's not the case. And then he brought up something that caught me off guard. He said years ago, I mentioned that one of my cousins got proposed to with a $10,000 ring, and ever since then, he thought that was what I expected, and felt like that's honestly what I deserve. After waiting so long, I had only mentioned the price of the ring to say how over the top it was. Not to encourage him, I've always told him, I don't need a ring that expensive, and he knows that I'm not materialistic like that. I told him I'm not falling for that excuse. I never asked for a $10,000 ring. And he knows that. What I was really thinking is, yes, we hit some financial struggles last year. He lost his job for a month. We moved back in with our parents, and we've been living there ever since. Our plan was to move out this year. I've been patient. But none of that changes the fact that he's had time to plan, time to save since we live at home with our parents, and he hasn't before he left. I'll admit I was really upset. I called him a liar. And when I did, he said something like, if that's what you think of me, then let's just both be done because there's nothing I can say at this point. And then I told him to leave. Since then, he hasn't reached out. It's been 12 hours and I haven't heard a word from him. I'm pretty sure he's already deleted all of my pictures. I turned my location off too, so now I'm just here, sitting with it. I lost my mom to cancer last year. My dad is getting older. And no, I'm not trying to live for my parents, but it hurts deeply knowing my mom will never get to see me get married or have kids. I spent 6 years with this man. 6 years of my life. And now it's just done. I booked an appointment with my old therapist. I haven't seen her in almost a year, but I need help working through this. Right now, I just feel numb. Please be nice to me because I am shattered. Stories number 18. Aita for not reaching out to my sister after her stillbirth, or expressing any sympathy to her. Weeks ago my sister, 33F, had to deliver her stillborn daughter after learning her heart had stopped beating at 21 weeks. I, 31F, have been low contact with her for a number of years now. We see each other twice a year, tops, and I have her number and socials all blocked. Our family knows this, but they, and my sister, still expected me to reach out and express sympathy to her, but I didn't. My parents are the most vocal about how heartless it is to not come together after a huge loss like this. But I don't think our past issues can be washed away by her loss. Her going through this does not change everything that's happened for me. This might be why I'm TA, because maybe it should. I'll let people decide. My sister and I were never that close. As kids we got along fine. We didn't fight much, but we didn't interact much either until our teens. And that's when she decided I was our grandparents' favorite, and that I didn't deserve to ever be happy because of it. She was jealous that my husband and I started dating in high school and made our relationship work for this long without ever breaking up. She taunted my inability to conceive naturally. She rubbed 2 of her previous pregnancies in my face and her super fertility. She even used her babies to taunt me, and not all of it was just something hurtful to me but to them. Like when she had her second. She told me she didn't even want her kids, but she had them, because she knew it hurt me. For me that was the final straw. And this is when I went low contact, but I felt bad for her kids too, because whether she meant it or not, if they had been older, that would have been horrific to hear their moms say. She showed no remorse for saying it either. And all future interactions were her very much gloating about her ability to have kids. It was something she was called out for by other people in our family. But now I'm supposed to forget about that and be there for her. Apparently I can't bring myself to, not even for a brief text, and maybe that makes me the comments. Commenter, 1, NTA. Your sister is an outright bitch. Commenter, 2, this. OP's sister is 100% the She spent years flexing her super fertility, like it was some kind of superpower, and literally used her kids as ammo to hurt you. Now she's shocked Pikachu face that you're not rushing in with hugs and sympathy. Nah, tragedy sucks, but it doesn't come with a free, erase all the awful things I did card. You're not heartless, you're just done being her emotional doormat. Commenter, 3, NTA. Do your parents know what she's been saying to you? If so, why would they think you'd want anything to do with her at this point? Reply, they know what she has said to me, and they believe that should be brushed aside now because of her loss. Stories number 19. My brother-in-law kept calling me mommy as a joke, so I canceled dinner. I feel ridiculous typing this out, but I'm so wound up I can't think straight. Maybe writing it down will help me see if I went too far. I'm 29, my husband Mark is 31. We've been married for almost 3 years. His family is close. They have weekly dinners, Sunday barbecues, and a group chat that pings constantly. For the most part, I get along with everyone. His mom, Diane, is warm and welcoming. His dad is kind, and his younger sister Emily is like the sister I never had. But then there's his younger brother, Jason. He's 25, the class clown of the family. You know the type, always cracking jokes, always the loudest in the room, always trying to get a reaction. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's exhausting. And sometimes, like last weekend, it crosses the line. The mommy thing. Jason has this bit he thinks is hilarious. Whenever I'm cooking, cleaning, or doing anything remotely domestic, he calls me mommy in this exaggerated baby voice like, "Ooh, mommy, can you make me a sandwich?" Or "Thanks, mommy, for cleaning up after me." The first time he did it, I laughed awkwardly. I thought, okay, Maybe it's just a one-off dumb joke, but he kept doing it. Every family gathering, every time we hosted, I asked him, nicely at first, to stop. I told him it made me uncomfortable, that it wasn't funny to me. He'd smirk and say, "Ah, don't be so sensitive, it's just a joke." Mark backed me up a few times, telling him to knock it off, but Jason always brushed it off with, "Relax, bro, I'm just kidding." Hosting dinner last weekend, I decided to host. I spent the whole day prepping grocery run in the morning, hours in the kitchen making roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, even homemade rolls. The house smelled amazing, candles lit, table set. It actually looked like something out of a magazine. I wanted it to be special. The family arrived around 6. Diane hugged me and said everything looked beautiful. Emily complimented the table. I felt proud. And then Jason walked in. He sniffed the air, widened his eyes, and said in that horrible baby voice, "Mommy, did you make din-din for us? You're the bestest mommy." The whole room went quiet. I froze with the serving spoon in my hand. I could feel my face turning red. I managed to say, "Jason, I've asked you before. Stop calling me that." He grinned. "What? I'm just saying thanks, Mommy." Everyone chuckled nervously, trying to brush it off. My husband gave him a sharp look, but Jason just shrugged and sat down. Something inside me snapped. I put the spoon down and said, "You know what? If you can't respect me in my own home, then we're done here. Dinner's canceled." There was stunned silence. I started putting the food away. Diane said, "Wait, what? You can't be serious." I said, I'm not going to spend hours cooking for people who think it's funny to mock me after I've asked them to stop." Mark stood there looking torn, but he didn't stop me. Eventually, everyone shuffled out awkwardly. Jason looked smug, like he'd won something. The fallout. The next morning, I got a long text from Diane. She said she was disappointed, that I'd ruined a family night over a harmless joke. That I embarrassed everyone. Jason texted a meme of a crying baby. I didn't respond. Mark says he agrees with me, that it's creepy and disrespectful, but also that me shouldn't have canceled dinner over it. He thinks I escalated things too far. Now I'm second-guessing myself. Did I? Update 1. After a lot of sulking on both sides, Mark finally sat down with Jason to talk. According to him, Jason doubled down, saying, "It's just my sense of humor. If she can't take a joke, that's her problem." Mark told him flat out, "No, it's not her problem. She told you it made her uncomfortable, and you kept doing it. That's disrespectful." Jason rolled his eyes and said, "Whatever, dude, I'll stop if it makes you happy." So technically he agreed. But of course, he couldn't resist adding, "Man, you guys are so uptight. No wonder she's always on edge." When Mark told me this, I felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief that he defended me. Anger that Jason still doesn't get it. Update 2. We went to Diane's for Sunday dinner. I was nervous walking in, expecting another round of snide comments. Jason was there, of course, grinning like always, but this time he didn't call me mommy. He didn't make any weird comments. He was actually quiet. It was almost unsettling. Then, as we were leaving, he muttered just loud enough for me to hear, "Night, Mommy." I turned around, looked him straight in the eye, and said, "You're 25 years old, grow up." He smirked, but at least Diane heard it this time. She looked furious with him. For once, it wasn't me being blamed. Where things stand, I don't regret canceling that dinner. Maybe it wasn't the polite thing to do, but it finally got the message across. I'm not going to be the butt of Jason's jokes in my own home. Mark and I are still working through how to handle his family long term, but at least he's starting to see that jokes stop being jokes when the person on the receiving end isn't laughing. And if Jason ever pulls it again in my house, he can eat takeout in the car while the rest of us enjoy dinner inside. Stories number 20. Webte, to lock my roommates out of my bedroom from their religious ceremonies. I, 18M, am a college student renting a room. It's one room in the basement of a townhouse, and the family I live with, parents early 30s, with a 1-year-old, also own the house. They are nice enough people, but I generally like to keep to myself, so I don't tend to interact with them very much, and most of our communication is done through a group chat with the 3 of us. Earlier this week, I texted them about something unrelated. and at the end of the conversation they informed me that they are going to have a priest over on the 13th to bless the house, and that they will be opening all of the doors in the house to do so. I didn't respond to the text because I wasn't really sure what to say. I don't care that they're going to be blessing the house, but I don't want them going into my bedroom to do it. That also happens to be my birthday weekend. I'm not technically 18 yet, so part of me just wants to visit my family for the weekend and lock my door and say something about forgetting about their plans. That sounds pretty dickish, but I am not comfortable with having them in my room. It feels like a violation of privacy, and I'm not sure what to do. WibTA? Edit. I went looking through my lease, as many of you suggested, and the only things it talks about are for repairs. There is nothing about being able to come in for any other reason, so I am not sure what that means for me. Stories number 21. ATA for refusing to lie about how my father-in-law got hurt. My father-in-law has MS recently. He fell in the shower and ended up with a cut and bruise on his face. When my MIL and FIL told me and my husband about it, they also told us not to share the real story with my husband's brother and his family. They have 2 teenagers. Instead, they said they told them he walked into a tree because they didn't want the kids to worry. They asked us to play along with that version. Here's my issue. I live with a physical disability myself from an accident years ago, and I do advocacy around disability awareness. A big part of my work is pushing back against the idea that disability and illness setbacks should be minimized, hidden, or treated. As shameful, being asked to lie about my FIL's fall really hit a nerve for me. At the time, I didn't say much, but later I texted them and explained that I'd rather defer the details to them if the kids ever ask me directly, because lying goes against my values. I also mentioned my advocacy work and why this felt important to me. They replied that his fall had nothing to do with his disability and got defensive, saying their decision not to worry the kids was final. But if that's true, why the lie in the first place? I completely understand wanting to minimize things or move on quickly, but asking me to participate in a cover-up feels wrong, especially since it undermines what I stand for and feels like reinforcing stigma. So, ATA for not wanting to lie for them? Edit. I hear what people are saying about privacy, and I agree it's not my place to share. My issue wasn't wanting to disclose. I was never planning to tell the kids. I just didn't want to personally participate in repeating a fake story. That's why I told my in-laws I'd defer questions back to them. I can see how it might have come across as me pushing, but my intent was only to avoid being dishonest myself. Edit. To be clear, I never said I was going to disclose anything on their behalf. In fact, I made it clear to them I'm not judging them, and I respect their approach for privacy right now. Stories. Number 22. My little brother. Just reminded me what kindness really looks like. So today, I was sitting at the kitchen table completely drowning in schoolwork, laptop open, 3 different notebooks scattered around, highlighters everywhere. You know that kind of stress where even looking at your to-do list makes your chest tighten? That was me. My 8-year-old brother, Ethan, wandered in while I was hunched over my notes. He stopped, tilted his head, and asked in this tiny voice, "Are you okay?" I sighed and said, "Yeah, buddy, I just have a lot on my plate right now. I'll be fine. I just need a little break." He nodded really seriously, like he was filing away important intel. Then he disappeared down the hall. About 10 minutes later, I heard little footsteps running back toward me. Ethan slid a piece of notebook paper across the table like it was an important contract. In bold crayon letters it said, "One free hug, I believe in you," and underneath it, "Never expires." I looked up at him, and he was standing there with the most earnest expression. Not a joke, not a prank, just pure sincerity. He said, "You can use it any time, even in 100 years." I just about melted. I pulled him into a hug right then and there, and he said, muffled into my shoulder, "See? It works already." I've been feeling burnt out for weeks, running on caffeine and stress, and somehow that little crayon coupon hit harder than anything else anyone has said to me in months. It reminded me that kindness doesn't have to be big or complicated. Sometimes it's an 8-year-old with a piece of paper reminding you that you're loved. Kids really do know exactly how to cheer you up when you need it. Most update, my little brother's hug coupon. Wow. I honestly didn't expect so many people to respond. To my original post, I mostly just needed to get it off my chest, but reading all the sweet comments about Ethan made me tear up. I showed a few to him, just the easy ones he could read himself, and he got this huge grin on his face and said, "So, I'm internet famous now?" I wanted to give a little update because that one tiny piece of notebook paper has somehow changed the vibe in our whole house. The coupon in action. A few days after I first posted, I was having another rough night. I had 2 deadlines and was staring at a blank document, totally spiraling. Ethan came into my room, looked at me and said, "Do you need to use your coupon?" When I nodded, he ran over, wrapped his little arms around me and whispered, "Remember, it never expires." I don't know how to explain it, but in that moment my stress went from 100 to maybe 30. It's like he gave me permission to just breathe copycat coupons. Then my mom saw the coupon taped above my desk and thought it was the cutest thing ever. She asked Ethan if she could get one too. He got all serious again, went to grab his notebook, and came back with 1 free smile plus. "You're doing great." Now my mom has it pinned on the fridge like it's the most important document in the house. Not to be outdone, my dad asked for one, and Ethan made him a coupon that said, "1 free joke, good or bad." And yes, Dad has already used it twice. So now my brother has basically started a coupon company, and he's been handing them out to everyone. My grandma got one in the mail that said, "1 free phone call plus I miss you." She called crying, saying it made her whole week. The bigger picture. I think what gets me is how something so simple has shifted things. We're all stressed in different ways: school, work, life. But this tiny gesture reminded us to pause and be gentle with each other. I still have Ethan's original coupon taped by my desk. I look at it every day. Whenever I start spiraling, I touch it like it's a lucky charm. I don't think he realizes just how much he gave me with that little scrap of notebook paper, so yeah, my little brother is basically the CEO of kindness in our family now. And I couldn't be more grateful. Final update: the coupon saga. It's been about 6 months since I first shared Ethan's little hug coupon, and I figured it's time to wrap this story up with a final update. I'll be honest, when I made that first post, I was burnt out, overwhelmed, and honestly just looking for somewhere to spill my feelings. I never expected thousands of strangers to care about a notebook. Scrap from an 8-year-old, but here we are. The coupon book. About 2 months after my last update, Ethan handed me something wrapped in printer paper and said, "This is for emergencies." I opened it, and inside was a whole coupon book. He stapled together 10 sheets of notebook paper, each one hand-drawn with things like 1 free hug, plus, bonus, pep talk, 1 night of me doing chores without complaining, 1 free joke extra cheesy, I'll share my candy, 1 movie night of your choice. He even numbered them like actual tickets and put, "Expiration, never." At the bottom of each page. I don't think I've cried that hard in years. He just looked at me and said, "You needed more options." The ripple effect. The wildest part? His little coupon idea didn't just stay in our house. My mom shared it at work, and now her whole office has a kindness board, where people leave sticky notes with their own coupons. Things like free coffee run, or 5 minutes of listening without interrupting. Even my college friend group stole the idea last finals week. Instead of Secret Santa, we did secret coupon swap. I got one from a classmate that said, 1 free ride to campus at 7 a.m., which turned out to be a lifesaver. It's like Ethan accidentally started a mini kindness movement without even knowing it. Where we are now. Ethan just turned 9, and at his birthday party he made little coupon sheets for all his friends as party favors. Most kids want to hand out candy or goodie bags. But nope, Ethan gave everyone 1 free playdate coupons. Parents were messaging my mom later saying it was the sweetest thing they'd ever seen. As for me, I still keep the original 1 free hug plus I believe in you coupon taped above my desk. It's wrinkled and a little faded now, but I can't imagine ever taking it down. Anytime I feel like I'm drowning in deadlines, or life just feels too heavy, I look at it and remember that love doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as a hug and 4 little words. I believe in you. I know this will probably be my last update, but I just want to say thank you to everyone who read, commented, and encouraged me along the way. You all helped me realize that the smallest acts of kindness really can ripple outward in ways you don't expect. And in case you need it today, consider this your coupon. One free reminder that you're doing better than you think. Stories. Number 23. AIOGF forgot my birthday and got mad when I brought it up. So yesterday was my 25th birthday. And honestly, I was kind of excited because birthdays have always been a big deal for me. I didn't need a huge party or anything, just some acknowledgement. Maybe a dinner, a card, something to feel special. I woke up, checked my phone, nothing from my girlfriend. No happy birthday, no text, no call. I thought maybe she was planning a surprise, so I let it slide fast forward through the entire day. Still nothing. She called me in the evening to chat about random stuff, but didn't mention my birthday at all. That's when I finally said, "Hey, you know it's my birthday today, right?" She immediately got quiet and then started getting kind of defensive. She was like, "I'm sorry, I've been so stressed with work. I can't keep track of everything." And then she got passive-aggressive, saying I was being dramatic about a date on a calendar. What makes this sting more is that for her birthday a couple of months ago, I went all out. I got her a thoughtful gift, planned a whole weekend trip, took her to her favorite restaurant, and even made her a handmade card. I put time and energy into making her feel loved and special. Now I just feel like I don't matter to her the same way she matters to me. She hasn't apologized beyond that defensive comment, and I'm honestly pretty angry and hurt. I'm seriously considering breaking up because I don't think I deserve to feel like I'm begging for basic acknowledgement from my own partner. Stories number 24. My wake-up call. Humanity isn't headed for collapse. We're already living it. I don't usually post long essays on here, but this has been sitting heavy on my chest. Last week, I was grabbing dinner with a buddy from college, Marcus, and we started talking about how everything feels off. Not just politically, not just socially, but in every single area of life. He said something that stuck with me. Everyone's waiting for some big collapse, but they don't see that we're already living it. Just slower, quieter, and more personal than they expected. At first I brushed it off, but later that night it wouldn't leave my mind. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Part 1. The rot doesn't start at the top. People talk about the government, billionaires, climate, whatever. But let's be real. The real collapse doesn't start with presidents or CEOs. It starts with everyday people refusing to take responsibility. I've seen it firsthand. I work retail management, nothing glamorous, and every single day. Watch employees show up late, cut corners, or call out with the flimsiest excuses. And when you try to hold them accountable, suddenly you're the bad guy. "You don't understand my situation." They'll say, "It's not fair." But here's the kicker. When I was their age, I worked 2 jobs, finished community college at night, and somehow still managed to pay my rent. Did it suck? Absolutely. But I never once thought blaming my boss would solve anything. It's not just work, it's everywhere. People don't return shopping carts. Parents hand their kids iPads instead of parenting. Patients scream at doctors but won't stop. Smoking or eating garbage. Students cheat with AI and then wonder why they can't hold a job interview. It's not dramatic. It's not some apocalyptic movie. It's the slow erosion of accountability. One excuse at a time. Part 2. Victimhood as currency. My cousin, Amanda, is a professor. She told me something wild. Students now come into her office demanding higher grades because of emotional distress or stressful environments. Not asking for tutoring, not seeking feedback, demanding the outcome without the work, and the crazy part? The system folds to it. Schools are terrified of lawsuits, so they water everything down. Victimhood has become a kind of social currency. If you can prove you've been wronged, the world owes you something. Doesn't matter if you contributed to the mess. Doesn't matter if you had 10 opportunities to make better choices. We're not teaching resilience. We're teaching people to weaponize weakness. And then we act surprised when no one can handle reality without a therapist, a pill, or a scapegoat. Part 3. The digital distraction machine. We have more access to knowledge than any generation in human history. My dad, John, used to drive to the library just to look up technical manuals when he fixed cars in the 80s. Now, I can pull up a YouTube video in 5 seconds. So why are we dumber? Why do people believe the Earth is flat, vaccines contain microchips, or that political memes count as research? Because information isn't the problem. Discipline is, truth is integrity. We don't use the internet to learn. We use it to distract hours of TikTok, doom-scrolling Twitter, Reddit arguments that go in circles, porn, gambling, rage-bait videos, anything but facing ourselves. We could use these tools to become better. Most of us don't. That's the collapse part 4. The family unit isn't untouchable. Let's talk about family. Because people like to pretend at least family is sacred. It isn't. My neighbor Greg has 2 kids. He works nights as a trucker, comes home exhausted, and you know what his wife does? Hands him the kids immediately and disappears to scroll Instagram for hours. I've literally watched the man fall asleep holding a baby while his toddler tries to get his attention. Family isn't collapsing from outside forces. It's rotting from inside. Selfishness, laziness, lack of discipline. Marriage rates are dropping. Divorce rates are climbing. Kids are being raised by TikTok instead of parents. And we think the government or climate change is going to end us? Nah, we're ending ourselves in living rooms every night. Part 5. This isn't a warning. It's a diagnosis. People talk about, if things don't change, society will collapse. I think they're wrong. Society already collapsed. It just didn't happen with explosions or zombies. It happened with missed shifts, broken families, addictions to screens, abandoned responsibilities. It happened so slowly we got used to it. We keep waiting for the big one. But what if this is it? What if collapse looks like endless student debt, neighbors who don't talk, 30-year-olds with no savings, families that eat dinner in silence while staring at phones, employees who brag about doing the bare minimum, politicians who reflect the same rot we tolerate in ourselves? That's not the warning. That's the diagnosis. We're already sick. Part 6. So what do we do? This part's harder. I don't have all the answers, but I know it starts small. Stop outsourcing responsibility. Stop blaming systems for everything. Start with yourself. Clean your room, show up on time, stop lying. Tell the truth, even when it hurts. If enough of us do that, maybe things change. If we don't, then nothing will. Doesn't matter who's president, what the economy does, or what the next iPhone looks like. A rotting core eventually collapses, no matter how shiny the outside looks. Edit, clarification. I'm not saying climate change or war, or politics don't matter. They absolutely do. But those are symptoms. If we had resilient, disciplined, accountable people, we'd be able to face them. Right now, we don't. And that's why they crush us. Final thoughts. My friend Marcus was right. Collapse isn't a future event, it's here, woven into our daily lives. The good news? If collapse can happen slowly, maybe rebuilding can too. But it won't start at the White House, or the UN, or Silicon Valley. It starts with us. In our homes, in our jobs, in our choices. Humanity doesn't need another warning. We need to look in. The Mirror Stories number 25, WibTA. If I chose to get tubal removal during my HPV surgery without my boyfriend's permission? Me 26 FAM, expecting my second child with 26 our boyfriend. I am about 26 weeks pregnant and in school, to hopefully get into nursing school next year. This pregnancy was a surprise, just like my daughter and I also terminated just after she was born, due to postpartum depression and lack of support. My first pregnancy was literally by the book. No issues, just normal sicknesses and symptoms. But this one has been terrible. I have prenatal depression, have been in the hospital multiple times due to dehydration, etc. This pregnancy has revealed I have HPV, and am going to need surgery to remove the growths. Not that long after I have my second daughter, I confided in my boyfriend, telling him, "This is my last pregnancy. It has been so hard on my body, and we are broke all the time too. We are right on the poverty line. I want to finish school and be able to live life, not just survive constantly." He responded to me with, "Well, I hope not. I want more kids. Pregnancy isn't easy." This has sparked some issues for me. I would be okay to just practice safe sex and not get pregnant, but I don't trust him to not put his own wants for a family above the well-being financial stability of our situation. I know I don't want any more kids, especially barely being able to put food on the table and having to work strenuous jobs while pregnant. It doesn't make sense to have more kids to me. I come from an immigrant Hispanic grandmother who was uneducated and poor her whole life, was never educated because she was taking care of kids her whole life. WBTA if I made this decision without his consent. I fear the backlash I will get with my decision and the guilt that will be pushed on me, and I don't want anyone else's. Wants to be put over my own bodily autonomy. I would do it when I go in to get the HPV removed, as I will be under general anesthesia, and they can do it all at once. Stories number 26. Aita for not wanting to agree to set rules under the label of boundaries. 1. My drinking? I mentioned to my fiancé that I feel I've been drinking too much to the point where it was an issue, that I wanted to stop drinking for a while and change my relationship with alcohol. He told me he thinks I should never drink again, and I disagreed. He has since suggesting boundaries on my drinking. If I'm going to drink, I don't think I should have rules set on my drinking. It is something for me to manage. I did a month sober, and we are now on holiday, visiting my parents abroad. He has said I can have 1 or 2 drinks, less than 50% of the days that we are here. I'm feeling frustrated and resentful of that. I'm not saying that I will even necessarily overstep that, because I am wanting to be aware of my drinking and drink less, but I don't want to feel like if I have a glass of wine with dinner 2 nights in a row, or even each night, that I am breaking rules, or have to ask his permission to do so. Am I the asshole? He thinks so. Edit. I was already drinking heavily when we met, so this is a change to what he has always known. A few people are saying I should set my own limits. I have tried explaining to him that I need to be in control of this decision, not feel policed by him. I'm not saying I'm going to do whatever I want when the moment takes me. I simply need to feel that I'm making this decision. Stories. Number 27. Loud music at 2 a.m. I found the perfect way to shut her up when I was in college. I had this neighbor in the dorms named Sarah. Sarah wasn't evil, just loud. Every night she'd blast music at 1 or 2 a.m., usually when I had an early class. No matter how many times people asked her to turn it down, she'd laugh it off and say, "Relax, it's college." One night before a big exam, I was desperate for sleep. I knocked on her door around midnight and asked politely if she could lower the volume just a little. She smirked, said, "Sure," and then cranked it even louder. I laid in bed staring at the ceiling, absolutely fuming. The next morning, after my exam, I decided I wasn't going to let it slide. Sarah was notorious for sleeping in late, usually till noon, and she hated mornings more than anything. So for the next week, I set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. sharp, right when the hall was dead quiet, and placed my Bluetooth speaker against the thin wall we shared. I blasted the cheesiest pop songs I could find. Think bubblegum boy bands from the early 2000s. The first day she stumbled out of her room groggy and furious. By day 3, she started begging me to stop. I just smiled and said, "Relax, it's college." Funny enough, after that week, her late-night concerts mysteriously stopped. She never admitted defeat, but the silence was golden. Stories number 28. Want to make my life difficult after the breakup? Let's make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. This recently came up in a conversation with my sister, and I thought, it's perfect for petty revenge. After me, 25F, and my ex 26M broke up, he made my life miserable. I am talking about contacting my friends and my sister to talk shit about me after I blocked him, posting on Reddit about his version of the story, and sending me the links to them, among other things. It was overall a very messy situation. He had all the classic traits of a narcissist pretending to be this awesome person. Very woke, feminist, supportive of all his friends, etc., etc., but in reality he was just a piece of shit and hated on everyone, which he used to proudly tell me. Then the opportunity presented itself. His roommate, who I was good friends with at that time, invited me for a birthday celebration. I decided to go primarily to see his cat, who I loved. The thing about my ex is he had a very close-knit group of friends who had known each other for more than 10 years, and all of them are in each other's businesses. This group included a female friend of his who I was somewhat close as. Keep in mind that all of them think he's some gift to mankind, and I decided that ended today. So on the day of the party when my ex was getting shit-faced, I pulled aside the female friend, the roommate's girlfriend, and another girl in their group, and laid out everything abusive he had done over the course of the relationship, including bringing another girl to his room at night, all the gaslighting behavior, his behavior after the breakup. I also added his somewhat problematic views regarding feminism and how misogyny is sometimes okay. Why was I even with him? Along with this, I mentioned he criticized all of their relationships, and especially not liking the roommates. Girlfriend, I threw in some, "I always defended you," also, and then left after eating the cake. Of course, the fallout I got to know after a few months, through another friend, is that all of his friends confronted him, which led to a huge fight, and he was, to put it lightly, let go from the group. NP longer invited to anything, even though he lives in the same house. Now a few days back I got to know that he's moving away from the city. So yeah, this was quite satisfying to hear. Stories number 129. My sister thinks I'm selfish for not letting her kids run wild in my house. I never thought I'd be the type of person who had to ban kids from their own house, but here we are. And honestly, I don't even know if I'm the bad guy in this situation, or if I'm just finally standing up for myself after years of letting things slide. For context, I'm 34F, single, no kids. My sister, Emily, 36F, is married with 3 kids, ages 7, 4 and 2. I love those kids, I really do. I buy them Christmas gifts. I've babysat in emergencies. I go to their school plays and birthday parties, but I also like my home to be, well, mine, a calm, clean place where I can unwind after work, maybe light a candle, read a book, or just have some peace. Emily and I have always been close, but there's a recurring issue. She seems to assume that because I don't have kids, my house, my time, and my energy are fair game whenever she needs a break. The incident last weekend was the breaking point I'd been looking forward to. A quiet Saturday, I'd cleaned my place top to bottom Friday night, bought myself fresh flowers, and even splurged on a nice bottle of wine to enjoy with a book later. Around 11 a.m., I get a text from Emily. "Emily, we're in your area, thought we'd swing by." Me. How many is we?" Emily. "Me and the kids." "Duh. Don't worry, they'll behave." Before I could even type, "Today's not great," she was already knocking on my door. Within 20 minutes, my living room looked like a tornado had hit it. The 7-year-old found my markers and started drawing tattoos on my white couch cushions. The 4-year-old spilled apple juice all over the rug I bought last year. The 2-year-old somehow got into the cabinet where I keep my candles and nearly burned his hand on a lighter I thought was out of reach. Meanwhile, Emily sat on the couch scrolling through her phone, occasionally glancing up to say things like, "Kids will be kids," or "You're so uptight. Relax." The final straw was when the 7-year-old knocked over a vase that had belonged to our grandmother. It shattered on the hardwood. I just stood there frozen. Emily barely blinked, muttering, "Oops, accidents happen." I wanted to scream, drawing the line. When they left a couple of hours later after more juice, more yelling, and a mountain of crumbs all over the kitchen, I just collapsed on the couch and stared at the mess I felt invaded. Not just my home, but my peace, my sanity. That night I texted Emily, "Hey, I love you and I love the kids, but I need to set a boundary. My house can't be treated like a playground. You're always welcome to visit, but please come on your own or arrange childcare. I need my space to stay my space." I thought I worded it as gently as possible. Her response came 10 minutes later. "Wow, I can't believe you. Do you have any idea how hard parenting is? How exhausting it is? I was hoping for a little support, and instead you tell me my kids aren't welcome. You're selfish. You don't understand because you've never had to take care of anyone but yourself." And then silence. She hasn't spoken to me since. The fallout. My mom called 2 days later to mediate. She told me Emily was hurt and felt rejected, that she just wanted her kids to feel comfortable at my place. I told Mom this wasn't about the kids feeling comfortable. It was about me being treated like my home doesn't matter. Mom sighed and said something like, "Well, families with kids are just different. You'll understand if you ever have your own." That stung. It felt dismissive. Like my boundaries don't matter because I don't have children. My best friend Rachel, on the other hand, was firmly in my corner. She said, "Your sister's taking advantage. You're not a free babysitter, and your house isn't Chuck E. Cheese, stand your ground. But it's hard, because guilt creeps in. I do love my nieces and nephews. I don't want them to think Auntie doesn't want them around. I just want them around when it's planned, when Emily is actually parenting them. Not when I'm blindsided and left to clean up chaos, the bigger issue." The more I think about it, the more I realize this isn't really about the kids, it's about Emily. She doesn't discipline them. She doesn't respect boundaries. She assumes her stress is everyone else's problem to solve. I've watched her let her kids run wild at restaurants. While waiters dodge flying crayons, I've seen her drop them off at our parents' house for a quick errand that lasts 6 hours. She's a good mom in that she loves her kids fiercely, but she struggles with structure, and everyone around her pays the price. I just don't want to pay it in my own home anymore, where things stand. It's been a week now. Emily's still cold. Mom keeps hinting I should apologize. For peace, Rachel says, don't back down. And me? I'm stuck between feeling like I've finally grown a spine and feeling like I've just put a wedge in my relationship with my sister. So here I am. Internet strangers. Am I really selfish for putting my foot down? Or is this just what happens when someone finally enforces a boundary in a family that's used to them being the flexible one? Stories. Number 30. My mother-in-law humiliated me in public. So I finally said the one thing I never wanted to. I never thought I'd be that person airing family drama online, but honestly, I don't know how else to process what happened. For the last few years, I've kept a lot of things bottled up, and last weekend, it all came spilling out in the most public, mortifying way imaginable. I, 32F, have been married to my husband, Ryan, 34M, for 5 years. We met in grad school, got married a couple of years later, and have what I thought was a solid partnership. He's the calm, diplomatic one. I'm a little more fiery, but I try to keep the peace when it comes to family. The problem? His mother, Patricia, 61F. The background. From the moment Ryan and I got engaged, Patricia has made her opinions about my priorities very clear. She's one of those women who believes that a woman's value is tied to being a wife and mother, not to her career or independence. For context, I'm a project manager at a tech company. I make good money. I enjoy what I do, and I worked my ass off to get here, but Patricia has never seen it that way. To her, my job is a distraction. She's made comments like, "It must be nice to play businesswoman all day while Ryan waits for a hot meal. Careful. Honey, your biological clock isn't going to wait until after that next promotion. Some women just don't have the mothering gene. And that's okay. Well, sad, but okay. I've tried to brush it off, but after years of this, it's chipped away at me." What Patricia doesn't know, or didn't know until recently, is that Ryan and I have been trying to have kids for 2 years. And in that time, I've had 3 miscarriages. Each one nearly broke me. Each one left me questioning my body, my worth, my future. The last thing I ever wanted was for people to think I was too focused on my career to want children. The truth is, we want them desperately. Patricia never stopped with the jabs. The dinner. This all came to a head at a restaurant last weekend. It was supposed to be a nice family dinner. Ryan, me, Patricia, and my father-in-law, Tom. When we walked in, Patricia spotted a couple she knew sitting at another table. Some old friends from church, I think. She insisted on stopping to introduce us. And that's when she said it, with the brightest smile. She gestured at me and told them, "This is my daughter-in-law, the career-obsessed one. She's far too focused on her job to give me any grandchildren." I froze. The couple laughed awkwardly, like they weren't sure if it was a joke. Ryan immediately tensed, and I could feel every eye at that table on me, waiting to see how I'd respond. Something in me just snapped. I said, louder than I intended, "Actually, Patricia, we've been trying for 2 years and I've had 3 miscarriages. But thank you for sharing our private medical information with strangers." The table went dead silent. Patricia turned bright red. The couple looked horrified. Tom muttered something about getting to our table, and Ryan squeezed my hand so hard it hurt, but no one said another word. The fallout, dinner after that, was tense, to put it mildly. Patricia barely touched her food, and Ryan kept shooting me. "We'll talk later." Looks, I felt sick. Part of me was relieved, like finally, the truth was out, and maybe Patricia would back off. But part of me also felt exposed, like I had stripped myself naked in a room full of people who didn't need to know my trauma after dinner. Patricia cornered me near the bathrooms. She was crying, saying I humiliated her, that she didn't know, that I should have just told her privately. But here's the thing. She did know, maybe not about the miscarriages specifically, but she knew her comments were cruel. She knew she'd been pushing. She knew she was embarrassing me every single time she reduced me to the career woman who wouldn't give her what she wanted. I told her, "You didn't care about my feelings when you made me the punchline of your little jokes. Why should I protect yours now?" Then I walked away, Ryan. And I argued later that night. He agreed Patricia was out of line, but said I crossed a line by announcing something so personal in public that I should have just pulled her aside. I told him I was done being polite while she bulldozed me, that my pain wasn't going to stay hidden, just so his mom could keep her reputation intact. Now Patricia isn't. Speaking to me, Tom is being neutral, which means he's quietly siding with her. Ryan's caught in the middle, and I feel both liberated and sick about how everything played out. Why I'm here, I keep replaying it in my head. Should I have stayed quiet? Should I have swallowed my pride and endured one more jab for the sake of peace? Or was I finally justified in standing up for myself, even if it was messy and public? Part of me feels like I burned a bridge that can't be repaired. Another part of me feels like the bridge was already rotting, and all I did was set fire to the lies built on top of it. So, internet strangers, what do you think? Was I selfish for not protecting Patricia's feelings after years of her ignoring mine? Or was this the inevitable consequence of her constant need to undermine me? Update. My mother-in-law humiliated me in public. So I finally said the one thing I never wanted to. Hi again. I honestly didn't expect so many people to read and comment on my original post. But thank you. I read through a lot of the responses and cried more than once because so many of you got it. You understood how years of little digs and comments wear you down until you finally crack. A lot has happened since that night. So I figured I'd give an update. The immediate aftermath. The night after the dinner, things between Ryan and me were rough. He wasn't yelling or anything, but he was withdrawn, quiet, like he didn't know how to talk to me. At one point, he asked me point blank, "Did you plan to tell her like that? Or was it just the heat of the moment?" I told him it was absolutely the heat of the moment, and if I had planned anything, I probably would have kept my mouth shut forever, because that's how I've been surviving with his mom. He nodded, but I could tell he didn't really know how to process it. The next day, Patricia texted Ryan saying she expected an apology from me. Not a conversation, not even a truce. An apology. Ryan showed me the text, and to his credit, he told her he wasn't going to push me into apologizing when she was the one making me feel like dirt. That was the first time in this whole mess that I felt like he really took my side. The family meeting a week later. Tom, my Phil, asked us to come over to clear the air. I wasn't thrilled about it, but Ryan convinced me it might be good to just get it out in the open. When we got there, Patricia immediately launched into a monologue about how I embarrassed her, how she didn't mean anything by it, how she's just old-fashioned and misses the days when families prioritized children. I sat there and listened for as long as I could. Then I told her I never wanted to share my miscarriages publicly, only did it because she publicly mocked me in front of strangers. Her constant comments about my biological clock and career obsession weren't just old-fashioned. They were cruel. And if she couldn't see how much damage she'd been doing, then maybe she needed to sit with that discomfort instead of deflecting it back onto me. Patricia cried again. Tom told me I was being too harsh. Ryan finally stepped in and said, "She's not being harsh. She's being honest. You've been pushing her for years. Mom, you humiliated her first. She just gave you a reality check." Hearing him say that out loud made me feel like I wasn't crazy. The shift. Since that conversation, Patricia hasn't been the same with me. She's quieter, polite, but distant. She doesn't make comments anymore, but she also doesn't really look me in the eye. Honestly, it's a relief. I'll take distance over constant passive aggression. Any day, Tom has been civil, though I can tell he thinks I went too far. He keeps bringing up forgiveness in that vague way people do when they really mean you should be the bigger person. I haven't taken the bait, Ryan, and I have had some deep talks since then. He admitted that, before this, he thought I was maybe exaggerating his mom's behavior, that he didn't realize how much it built up, because I never wanted to make waves. Seeing me finally break opened his eyes. He's been more protective of me in family settings, and that shift has honestly made our marriage feel stronger where we are now. The strangest part is how freeing this has all been for years. I let Patricia define the narrative, that I was some cold career woman who didn't want kids. Now the truth is out. And yeah, it was raw and messy, but it's real. And for once, she's the one sitting with the discomfort instead of me. Ryan and I are also talking more openly about what we want our future to look like. We're still trying for kids, but we've also started therapy together to work through the grief of the miscarriages. For the first time in a long time, I feel like we're on the same page, not just about his family but about us. As for Patricia, I don't know if we'll ever have a warm relationship, but I'm okay with that. I don't need her approval, I just need her respect, or at the very least, her silence. Final thoughts: if anyone else is reading this and dealing with a Mael or anyone who constantly undermines you, you don't owe them endless patience. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep family dinners pleasant. And sometimes, telling the raw, messy truth is the only thing that finally shuts down the lies. Do I regret how it happened? Sometimes. But do I regret standing up for myself? Not for a second. Final update. My Mael humiliated me in public, I snapped, and this is where we are. Months later. Hi again. I honestly didn't think I'd be back, but since a lot of you asked for an update if things ever shifted with Patricia, my Mael, here it is. It's been about 6 months since everything blew up. Holidays were the real test. Thanksgiving was the first big family event since the restaurant incident. Ryan and I debated skipping it, but in the end, we went because his grandma, who I genuinely adore, begged us to come. Walking into Patricia's house, I braced myself, but you know what? She was cordial, not warm, not affectionate, but civil. She greeted me with a polite, "Hi, how are you?" No digs, no passive-aggressive smiles. Dinner was surprisingly uneventful. The only awkward moment came when Tom tried to make a toast about family being, about forgiveness. Patricia shut him down with a sharp look and quickly changed the subject. I nearly dropped my fork. For once, she was the one avoiding drama, the apology sort. A few weeks later, Patricia asked me to grab coffee with her. I went, more out of curiosity than anything else. She sat across from me with her latte, looking more uncomfortable than I've ever seen her. She said, "I didn't understand how much I was hurting you. I thought I was just teasing, but I crossed a line." I waited for the word sorry, but it never came. It was more of a confession than an apology. Still, it was the closest thing to acknowledgement I've ever gotten from her. I told her plainly, "You don't have to like me. You don't even have to agree with my choices. But you need to respect me, because I'm not going to sit quietly anymore while you tear me down." She nodded. She didn't argue. And that was enough for me. Ryan has been a rock since all this went down. Therapy has helped us both unpack not just the miscarriages, but also how we communicate. He admitted he spent years minimizing his mom's behavior because it was easier than confronting her. Now, he actually steps in. At Christmas, when Patricia made a borderline comment about young people waiting too long for kids, Ryan was the one who said, "Mom, we're not doing this." And she dropped it. For the first time in our relationship, I don't feel like I'm standing alone when it comes to his family. That's made a huge difference in how safe I feel with him. Where we stand now, Patricia and I aren't close, and maybe we never will be, but the dynamic has changed. She keeps her comments to herself now, at least around me. And oddly enough, I think she respects me more for standing my ground. Tom is still a bit frosty. I can tell he thinks I should have handled things with more grace, but frankly, his opinion matters less to me these days. I've learned that peace of mind sometimes means letting people be wrong about you. Ryan and I are still on our fertility journey, but we're handling it privately this time. No family updates, no pressure, no timelines. It's just between us and our doctors closing Thoughts: I don't think there's ever going to be a fairy tale ending where Patricia and I braid each other's hair and laugh over wine. But honestly, I don't need that. What I needed was space, boundaries, and respect. And now I have that. If you're in a similar situation, being belittled, dismissed, or treated as less than, you don't have to wait for the perfect moment to speak up. Sometimes, it takes a messy, uncomfortable explosion to reset the balance. And while it might not win you popularity points, it can win you your sanity back. Do I regret what I said in that restaurant? Not at all. It was the turning point. And 6 months later I can finally say, I'm not walking on eggshells anymore. Stories. Number 31. My 73-year-old neighbor taught me more about living than any self-help book ever has. I never thought moving into this neighborhood would change my life. But it did. Not because of the house or the job I got around the same time, but because of the woman who lives next door. Her name is Jean. Everyone here calls her Mrs. Jean out of respect, but after the last 8 months, I don't think of her as just a neighbor anymore. She's become something closer to a mentor, a friend, and maybe even the unexpected role model I didn't know I needed. The beginning, when Jean first moved in, I only knew bits and pieces about her story. She'd lost her husband of 53 years not long before, and her kids had helped her downsize into the house next door to mine at first. Our interactions were what you'd expect from neighbors. I carried her groceries in when her hands were full, grabbed her mail if it was raining, shoveled her driveway during a snowstorm. She'd thank me with that gentle southern drawl of hers, always insisting she'd owe me cookies one of these days, but slowly, those small neighborly gestures turned into something else. I'd wave when she was watering her plants. She'd wave back, and sometimes that wave became a full conversation at the fence. A month later, she invited me over for coffee. And just like that, coffee in her kitchen became a weekly ritual. Stories you don't forget. Jean has lived through more than most people I'll ever meet. She told me she grew up in post-war Europe, where food wasn't always guaranteed, and safety was never promised. She immigrated to the U.S. in her early 20s with her husband and barely a suitcase between them. Together, they raised 4 kids while working multiple minimum wage jobs, scraping by building a life one paycheck at a time. She cared for her husband during a long illness before he passed, and the way she talks about him, with softness, not bitterness, is enough to put a lump in your throat. And yet, she doesn't wear any of it like a burden. When Jean tells these stories, there's no self-pity in her voice. Instead, there's gratitude, humor, sometimes even mischief. Like when she tells me about sneaking chocolate rations as a little girl, or how she once burned a Thanksgiving turkey so badly. The whole family ate grilled cheese instead. The curiosity that won't quit. What amazes me most about Jean isn't her resilience, though she has plenty of that, but her curiosity. At 73, she could easily lean on routine, stay comfortable, and nobody would fault her for it. But instead, she's always leaning into something new. She's learning to use her smartphone, fumbling through emojis and voice notes but laughing the whole way. One afternoon, she asked me to explain Tinder, I swear. She tilted her head and said, "So, you just swipe on people? That's wild. Back in my day, you had to actually talk to someone at the grocery store." She experiments with new recipes she finds online, then drags me over to taste test whether or not her avocado brownies are edible. They weren't. But she laughed, harder than I did. She asks questions about the world, about technology, politics, travel. Not to argue, but to learn. The sentence that changed everything yesterday, during one of our coffee chats. Jean said something that hit me so hard I've been replaying it ever since we were sitting at her kitchen table, sipping coffee, when she leaned back in her chair and said almost casually, "I spent too many years waiting for the right time to do things. There is no right time. There's only now." She said it like it was the most obvious truth in the world, but for me it was like a lightning bolt. Here's this woman who has lived through war, loss, hardship, and change. Most of us can't fathom. And she still wakes up every morning excited about what's next. She isn't weighed down by her past. She uses it as fuel. Meanwhile, me. I'm 34, and for months I've been dragging my feet on applying for my dream job. I keep telling myself I'm not ready yet, that maybe if I read one more book, gain a little more experience, wait for life to settle down, Then I'll be ready, but John, at 73, is planning a solo trip to see the Northern Lights next month. She laughs about how her kids think she's crazy for wanting to go alone, but she just shrugs. Why wait for someone else's schedule? She said. She's not waiting for perfect timing. She's not waiting at all. She's living. The shift. I walked home after coffee that day and sat on my couch, staring at the job application I've been putting off for weeks. I kept hearing her voice. There is no right time. There's only now, and for the first time in months, the fear of failing felt smaller than the regret I knew I'd feel if I kept waiting. So I opened the application. Tomorrow. I'm finishing it. What she's taught me. I don't know if it's wisdom, survival instinct, or just who she is, but Jean's perspective has shifted mine. She's taught me that aging doesn't have to mean shrinking into routine. It can mean expanding into possibility. She's shown me that kindness is as simple as sharing coffee, and that curiosity is the secret ingredient to staying alive inside, not just outside. Most of all, she's reminded me that life isn't something you wait to start. It's already happening every day. And honestly, in just 8 months, Jean has taught me more about how to live than any self-help book I've ever read. Update. My 73-year-old neighbor who taught me more than any self-help book. Again. A while back I posted about my neighbor, Mrs. Jean, and how in 8 months she taught me more about living than any self-help book ever has. A lot of people asked for an update, and honestly, so much has happened since then that I don't even know where to start. The job application. Let's start with the obvious one. I finished the application. I remember sitting at my desk the night after that coffee chat, staring at the blinking cursor in the online form. My brain was feeding me all the same excuses it always had. What if you're not qualified enough? What if you embarrass yourself? What if it's a waste of time? And then I pictured Jeanne sitting at her kitchen table, sipping her coffee, and planning a trip to see the Northern Lights, like it was the most natural thing in the world. She didn't ask herself if she was qualified to go. She didn't wait until everything lined up. She just decided to go, so I hit submit 3 weeks later. I got an interview 2 weeks after that. I got the job. It still feels surreal to type that. It's not perfect. No job is. But it's closer to what I've always wanted. More creative, more responsibility, and more aligned with who I want to be. I don't think I would have had the guts to go for it without her voice echoing in my head. There is no right time. There's only now. Jean's Northern Lights. Trip. Jean did, in fact, take that trip. She came back with a camera full of blurry photos. She kept laughing at how she couldn't figure out the night settings, and a heart full of stories. She told me about standing out there in the freezing cold, wrapped in so many scarves. She felt like a snowman, watching the sky explode in greens and purples, and the way she described it, like the whole universe was dancing just for me, made me tear up. Her kids had tried to talk her out of going. It's too far. Mom, too cold, too risky. She told them, I raised 4 kids on minimum wage. I survived a war. I buried my husband. Trust me, I can handle the cold. Classic. Jean. Porch philosophy. Since then, our coffee chats have turned into what I call porch philosophy. Sometimes we sit outside sipping iced tea, and she drops little nuggets of wisdom that stick with me for days. One evening, I was ranting about how overwhelmed I felt trying to prove myself at the new job. She listened quietly, then said, You know, when I was your age, I thought success was about never messing up. Now I think success is just about showing up, day after day, even when you mess up. Another time, when I asked her if she ever regrets anything, she smiled and said, Oh, plenty. But regret is just proof you were alive enough to care about something. I don't know what it is about the way she says things. Simple, almost offhand, but they land heavier than entire books I've read on personal growth. The ripple effect. What's wild is how much Jean's mindset is rubbing off on me in other areas of life. I've started saying yes to more things. I joined a local book club. Even though I didn't know anyone, I finally signed up for the cooking class I've been eyeing for years. I even asked out a girl I'd been crushing on for months at the coffee shop I go to. Something old me would have agonized over until the opportunity passed. We've been on 3 dates so far, and it's going well. Jean, of course, wants to meet her already. I feel like Jean's curiosity is contagious. She treats every day like an opportunity to try something new, and just being around her makes me want to do the same. What she doesn't. Know one thing I haven't told Jean yet. I've started keeping a little journal of her quotes and stories. Not word-for-word transcripts, but the essence of what she says. I don't know if it's because I want to hold on to her wisdom forever, or because a part of me knows she won't be here forever. But either way, I want a record of her perspective, and maybe one day I'll show it to her. Or maybe I'll just keep it as a reminder that wisdom isn't something you find in bestsellers, with shiny covers. Sometimes it's sitting next door, drinking coffee out of a chipped mug, closing thoughts. It's been months now, and my life feels different. Not because anything magically got easier, but because I stopped waiting for it. Jean was right. There is no perfect timing. There's only now, and living by that simple idea has shifted more in my life than years of overthinking ever did. So yeah, my 73-year-old neighbor continues to teach me more about living than any self-help book ever has. And something tells me she's not done yet. Final update. My 73-year-old neighbor who taught me more about living than any self-help book. It's been about a year since my first post about Jean. My 73-year-old neighbor who, without even trying, became one of the most important people in my life. A lot has happened since then, and I've been sitting on this update for a while because I wanted to do it. Just as life moves forward, I've been at my new job for almost a year now. It's challenging in ways that scare me sometimes, but that's also what makes it rewarding. I'm not perfect at it. I've stumbled, made mistakes, and had days where I thought I was in way over my head. And every single time I hear Jean's voice. Success is just showing up, even when you mess up. That reminder has kept me steady in moments I would have spiraled before Jean's health scare. A few months back, John had a minor health scare. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to land her in the hospital for a couple of nights. It shook me more than I expected. I realized how deeply she'd become part of my daily life. The thought of losing her was unbearable. When I visited, she waved me off like it was nothing. Don't look at me like I'm fragile porcelain. I'm not done yet. Then she winked. Classic. Jean, her recovery was steady, and within a few weeks she was back to tending her garden and insisting I try her latest Pinterest-inspired disaster. Her words, not mine. The soup was actually pretty good, but the scare made me double down on writing things down. Her quotes, her stories, her little bits of wisdom. I wanted to make sure nothing slipped through the cracks. The Northern Lights, Part 2. Remember how Jean went to see the Northern Lights alone? Well, this time she invited me. We didn't go all the way to Norway or anything. We found a domestic trip where the auroras are visible in winter. It was cold, and I thought I might lose a toe to frostbite, but standing next to Jean while the sky lit up was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. She stood there, bundled up in layers, smiling like a little kid. "See?" she whispered. "The universe still has surprises. You just have to go meet them." That's a moment I'll never forget. I own growth. I've noticed that because of Jean, I say yes more. To opportunities, to people, to experiences. That girl I mentioned from the coffee shop? We're still together. She's met John, of course. The first time they talked, John grilled her on books, travel, and whether she liked cats. Apparently this was a deal-breaker. By the end of the night, John leaned over to me and whispered, "She's a keeper." And I think she's right. The journal. I finally told Jean about the journal. At first she laughed. "Oh Lord, don't make me sound wiser than I am." But then she got quiet and said, "If even one thing I've said helps you, then I've done something right." She asked if she could read it one day. I said yes, but I'm not sure when. Part of me likes keeping it as our shared secret. Something I'll always carry, even if life takes us in different directions. The big lesson. Here's the thing. I went into this friendship thinking I was being neighborly, helping an older woman with groceries and mail. But what actually happened is that she helped me. She cracked me open, reminded me that life isn't about waiting for the perfect conditions, or avoiding mistakes, or living small to stay safe. It's about showing up, saying yes, doing the thing anyway. And now, a year later, I can honestly say I'm living differently because of her. More open, more curious, less afraid. Closing thoughts. Jean isn't going anywhere anytime soon. If she has her way, She'll outlive us all. But I know that someday, life will move on, and she won't always be next door, but her voice will, her wisdom will, her laughter will. And if there's one final update I can leave here, it's this. You never know who's going to change your life. Sometimes it's not a mentor you seek out, or a book you buy, or a course you take. Sometimes it's the woman next door, sipping coffee in her kitchen, reminding you that there is no right time. There's only now.